Good evening and welcome to another episode of the Endless Sales podcast. Today is Friday the 25th of July and I've got the pleasure of being joined by McGinty and we've got James as well. Franny may or may not make it, however we've still got 3 people in the house, so that's more than enough for us to get going with. Welcome to everybody in the comments right now. We have got a grand total of 2 people so far, so good evening to you. We've got Thomas Burns, come on the hoops. I hope you're doing well, Thomas. And we've got Ernest Mosley. So hello to you, gents. So welcome to everybody. McGinty, start with yourself. Happy Friday. How's the week been? Are you drinking a beverage tonight? And in fact, you're chewing something, you're eating something. We'll move swiftly on to James. James, how's your week been? Do you have a beverage for tonight? What's the crack? What's happening?
Aye, all good, mate. I've got a wee long weekend in work, so can't really complain on that front. But I'm on the fruity stuff tonight. As I said in the group chat, I found a wee case of dark fruits, which has been left off for Christmas. Checked the date on it, and we're still good to go. So it's the fruity stuff for me.
Are you more of a cider man than a beer man? What if you're in a pub? What would you go for?
Aye, I'm totally lager. I'm a cider man.
Fair dues. McGinty, looks like you've still got a couple of.
No, I'm good.
Excellent. Okay. How are you? How's the week been? Do you have a beverage for tonight?
First up, I do have a beverage, the old San Miguel, the most Spanish, non-Spanish lager on the market. Same with James, actually. I've got a wee long weekend. I like it when my 5 days off fall. I think it's Friday to Tuesday. I'm back into work on Wednesday. So a few beverages tonight, see how we get on. And looking forward to maybe some football tomorrow. I'll see how I feel tomorrow morning, if I can stomach it.
Excellent. Well, tonight I have got Inamura. It is a very nice lager. I do enjoy that one. Who else? We've got Jamie Brown in the house, and that's the latest addition. Right. Okay. So guys, we have got plenty to talk about. Obviously, we played Ajax last night. It was the semi-final of the cup in Italy, and it didn't go according to plan. It'd be fair to say. So far, the pre-season has been kind of simmering along quite pleasantly right now. However, it did kind of take the wind out of our sails. So we had a bit of an emotional argument last night. James, you appeared to have went to the dark side, batting for the other team, and you never called us bedwetters, but I could sense it. I could sense it in behind your words. Me and McGinty were, I wouldn't say disparaging. I guess McGinty, I won't put words in your mouth. But from my perspective, I was feeling it's not the end of the world. However, in terms of momentum, it looked as if it kind of killed a bit of momentum, the feel-good factor. I don't know about the players' confidence. Only Brendan Rodgers can account for that. But I was really quite disappointed with the result. I never saw it, so that's a disclaimer. I never saw it. I've seen the highlights, and my friends were kind of keeping me posted. But by all accounts, it sounded like we had a very, very good first half. We should have scored more. It finished 1 each in the first half, but in the second half, we capitulated. So who wants to kick us off tonight in terms of talking about the game? Because I'd imagine we're going to have maybe 2 contrasting opinions from Anthony and James tonight. So who wants to kick us off?
No, look, I'm actually, with what McGinty was saying, I agreed with him. It was just something that he said on Saturday that I picked up on. Aye, exactly, and I was just mixing it up a wee bit. Look, I agree. I am a ball here away for being a fully signed up card carrying member of the Bedwetting Club. I am getting there now. We're getting into nearly August, so it's reaching that stage now. But the game last night, to use an old cliche, it was a game of 2 halves. The first half, I thought we were pretty good. I think Ajax took the lead against the run of play. We had a few chances. Yang obviously scores. He should have had another one. I think he should have buried the one that hit the bar. And then the second tough, right for kick-off, it was pretty much a behind-the-couch job. It was as poor can be in the second half, I'd say.
Okay, that's an honest assessment. I didn't realise that you were just being sarcastic last night. I thought you were being genuine.
No.
I genuinely thought that you'd switch sides, James, because you have been a decent ally for us on this podcast. McGinty, would you go any further than that in terms of your assessment of last night's game?
In short, it's pretty much what excuse me. It's pretty much what James said. I mean, was it 16th minute that they got their goal? I think it was 4 or 5 minutes later we get our goal. So I agree with James. It's kind of against the run of play when Ajax get that goal. I'd put into one of the group chats, or was it on the forums last night, around about that time, almost a minute before they scored, that Ajax didn't really challenge us. They didn't seem to be wanting to bring intensity to their game at all, and it seemed almost like the perfect definition of a friendly match to us. It was going to be uneventful in the realms of what could we see that was going to challenge us and make us see where we stood at this point in pre-season. And I picked up on it all last night. I knew James was completely a wind-up. He's a merchant for it, and I love it. But he did make a good point. I mean, I missed the Newcastle game last week, and I made a point of saying after we won that game, I'm actually glad that I didn't see it, because then I couldn't get carried away with a good result against Newcastle, because you have to keep in mind where we were in our pre-season development compared to Newcastle. That was their first game. They may have played a few names that you would recognise and you would expect to start for Newcastle, but that's the equivalent of us going across to Cork. You can't read too much into what Newcastle presented that day. So getting the win is always good, and getting the momentum, as you said at the start of this, Gavin, is always good as well. And that's what we've been building on until last night. But as soon as Ajax get that goal, and as soon as Ajax start to make a game of it, you start realising how far off the pace we are. And again, the scoreline of 5-1 doesn't matter to me. It could have been a 1-each draw, it could have been a 5-1 defeat, it could have been a 10-1 defeat, for all I care. What I care about most is that the season starts in 9 days. We have one more friendly tomorrow against Al Ahly. I've just looked at the squad lineup to see what big names may be there, how the Saudi league's going. And there's a couple, Mahrez, Tony, St. Maxim, the French boy. There's a couple of names there, but it's not massively inundated with Europe's creme de la creme of 37-year-olds. It's reasonably a lot of Saudi boys there. So I'm not going to get too excited about tomorrow, but I'm concerned about especially the second half performance yesterday, about how far off the pace we are, because we did not look like we're ready for a competitive game. We looked like that was game 2 of an 8-game pre-season. We looked way off the pace, and that's my concern. Not the result, the performance, and how far we've developed over the course of the summer. It's pretty bad.
And I think we'd probably all agree that the focus of our kind of annoyance, of our irritation, isn't so much on the performance last night, because unfortunately these things can happen. But I guess the focus of our annoyance and irritation is on the kind of the wider long-term strategy of Celtic. Last night was just a symptom of, and I guess we will get into the kind of the strategy that we do see with Celtic, not just this summer, but we have a track record of it, mainly in terms of recruitment, in terms of direction, in terms of everybody pulling in the right direction. And like you see it last night with Brendan Rodgers' comments after the game. He is talking about, let me just go to the quote. He says, "It depends what your ambition is. If your ambition is to really progress and push forward, then we need to improve the squad. But I can't fault the players." I think we would all agree with that sentiment entirely. But a quote like that shows that it's not the first time that he has made these prompts, these digs at the board. It happened the last time. The last time, his first stint, he was more of an emotional individual, a more emotional Celtic manager. This time he said that he has matured, and I think we can probably agree upon that. But he is making the same sound bites, that he wants more action from the board to support him in terms of progressing, and we aren't quite seeing that yet. Whether we see it in the last 2 weeks of the transfer window remains to be seen. But at the moment, we want to see more. So the one thing I would disagree with you, McGinty, on respectfully, is getting beat 5-1 for me. I don't like that at all. I find that embarrassing. Friendly or not, competitive or friendly, I don't like to see us losing 5-1 in any type of game at all. I think the manager or a player characterised it as you don't really get friendlies at Celtic. Like, even if it's a non-competitive game, every single game is a test. And last night, I think Celtic as a club failed the test last night. But we move on. It is only a friendly, I guess. We shall move on from that. But I guess I wanted to get your thoughts, gents, on a couple of the players so far. Some of the new guys who've come in. Now, I wasn't at the Newcastle game myself, and I didn't get to see the game last night on Celtic television. But one of the guys who I think has caught the attention, and whenever I saw his YouTube clips, I was really quite excited. So the guy is Benji Nygren, or Nygren, whatever you want to call it. He took the number 8 shirt, I believe, and he is operating as a centre midfielder. I've heard some comparisons of a likeness between him and Matt Riley and kind of Rodgers, kind of hybrid of that. James, what type of player is Nygren? Is he one of those good signings that can actually strengthen the first 11? And whose position does he put in jeopardy? Whose shirt does he take?
I think it'll be Engels, and I like Engels, but I don't think Engels has had a great pre-season. I think Hatate's nailed on to start, and obviously McGregor as the captain is nailed on to start, so it's going to be Nygren that he's competing with. I really like the look of him. I think he's probably been the standout of pre-season, and amongst a couple, to be fair, especially last night. And it's something that I kind of touched on the point last week that I'd still like us to go out and sign a holding midfielder, but I'd be very surprised if that happens. And the reason for that is because Nygren, like you say, kind of O'Reilly type, but he also puts me in mind in certain circumstances of Tom Rodgers, who looks very comfortable on the ball, never seems flustered, which is something that we've been missing. It's something that I've said all last season as well. All the midfielders for me want to do the same thing. For me, this guy looks like an out-and-out number 10, which is something that we've, in my opinion, solely lacked. So whilst he's going to be in there, it maybe gives us that option to put Hatate or Engels beside McGregor and just sit there and let him deal with the forward play stuff. But then the flip side of that is last night I'm saying he looks like Rodgers in the sense that he's comfortable on the ball, but there was also times last night where he was literally picking the ball up from between the centre backs and driving forward with it, which is obviously something that you wouldn't associate with Tom Rodgers. But he looks the part. He's been the pick of the bunch for me in pre-season. As I say, there has been a couple of kind of standout performers so far, but I'd have Nygren top of the list, and I think he looks a great bit of business. He looks really good so far.
I guess it's all encouraging what you're saying, and whenever I watch his clips, I did kind of think of Tom Rodgers, the way that he glided with the ball. One other thing, can I ask you before I move on to McGinty? I remember in his interview he said that he describes himself as a player who links defence and attack. So you obviously mentioned him picking the ball up from the centre backs and driving on. Can the guy put in a shift? I noticed that he's a tall guy as well, so I'd imagine he's got a bit of physicality, and that's something that you could have accused our midfield in previous years of being culpable of getting bullied sometimes in games. So does he look like one of these players who's got a lot of running and is able to stand up for himself?
He's definitely got a lot of running. I think I actually put it in the group chat last night. It was only like 25 minutes, half an hour into the game, and it just felt as if every time we were winning the ball back or carrying it forward, it was constantly Nygren on the ball. So, as I say, he was everywhere. Whether he's got the physicality, we'll probably see that side of it more when we move into the league fixtures. But I certainly last night in that first half, he was running about like a Duracell bunny, as I say, picking it up literally between the two centre halves and then carrying it to the halfway line, pretty much like Liam Scales has failed to do in numerous occasions. So it's just good to have that kind of creative spark in the midfield that hopefully is going to be that kind of Tom Rodgers style.
Okay, excellent. McGinty, we've got a comment here from Jed who he said he's had a lot of stick on our WhatsApp chat regarding the lack of signings, and our squad is weak and needs at least 4 signings for our starters, and he's certainly not looking at Champions League qualifier. Speaking of the impact that Nygren has made relatively early so far, but I think it's a good advantage to bring in a midfielder who's got something different to what we currently have. It's also refreshing to actually bring in a signing. He looks like only the second signing of this season, apart from Kieran Tierney, who can come in and be a first team starter. So do you think that midfield three previously of Engels, McGregor and Hatate, do you think that it needed a bit of challenging, and how refreshing is it to bring in someone who can do that? I know that James has said he would like a number 6, a dominant guy who can break up play, and by all means I think we all agree with that. But sticking with Nygren right now, how is it refreshing to see his impact so far?
Again, I hate when I do a podcast with James because I end up just saying, yeah, what James said. And then I just kind of elaborate a little bit more. But he is right, exactly what he said. You know, there's a lot of times last night, and it's not just last night, you've seen it in a couple of games as well, where Nygren's coming all the way back and doing a bit of a defensive work, but he's not doing it in a dirty way. He's doing it in an intelligent way. And I think he's a really intelligent footballer. And I didn't take his quote as, you know, he likes to link the defence to attack, as a sense of he's going to come that far deep to collect the ball, to make the challenge, to make the intercept. I took it as simply he wanted to be a central midfielder rather than the winger that a lot of people thought we were signing at the times, and was a bit of kind of anticipation of what kind of play was going to be. But as James says, it turns out that he's actually a bit of everything through that midfield. And it's, you asked the question of James there about, you know, whose shirt is he taking and replacing? And I think he's potentially right, James, in saying Engels, but I think he's actually taking Bernardo's spot, like within the squad, but then he's also jumping ahead of the game as well. And it's now becoming Engels and Hatate who are going to compete for the third position, because you're not going to drop McGregor. And I think Nygren's pretty much a stick-on to be that unofficial number 10, but somebody who's going to do that work to come back. And my hope is, as much as I agree with James again, that we do need a Wanyama, big dirty bastard type to break up the play, even a Neil Lennon, totally defensive midfielder, soak up the pressure and play the ball out, even if it is sideways. We've lacked that for so many years. I don't think we're going to get it, but I'm hopeful that the way that Nygren can come back so deep to do a bit of the work defensively, it might allow Cal McGregor then to go forward a little bit more often, because he doesn't need to be the sole one that sits that far back. Which reminds me again of something that we saw Brendan Rodgers say when he was at Liverpool, and we all got excited when he first signed for Celtic and his first stint about this whole midfield trio. And we kind of look at it as a number 10 and 2 number 8s who, you know, one goes forward while one stays back. And I think that's potentially what Nygren and McGregor might end up doing, is allowing each other to go forward or go back, and the other one will do the opposite, and it might just get a better game at McGregor, because I think all three of us would agree, and many people in the chat, McGregor's not a number 6. He's not a defensive dirty bastard guy that James rightly wants in the squad, but this might allow us to see the better side of McGregor, allowing him to go forward, because he got somebody like Nygren who's able to come back, because he looks really intelligent. And the last thing I'll say on Nygren and the kind of the first impressions, sorry, the first impressions I'm getting of him is to be reminded of that quote that I think it was Neil Lennon said to Virgil van Dijk, you know, enjoy it while you're here, because you're not going to be here for a long time. And Nygren looks like that kind of player, a really intelligent footballer. And I reckon if you see 2 seasons out of Nygren, I'd be surprised. I think he's going to light it up this year, and I think he'll move on quite quickly. To his credit, he'll move on quickly.
Fair enough, fair enough. Well, the good thing is that if you're saying that, then he's obviously made a strong impression on you thus far. I wanted to get your thoughts on another player, a polar opposite in terms of experience in professional football is Inamura. And it appears that I definitely have egg on my face. So eating some humble pie, I can hold my hands up and say that after listening to a Japanese football expert who said that Inamura had never played as left back. He always plays as centre back on the left side. And people were in the podcast saying, "No, he's going to be the backup to Kieran Tierney." It looks like that's where he has been deployed so far in the friendlies. So he's been playing in the left back, sharing game time with Kieran Tierney. Now, I've been listening to a few Celtic podcasts. On one of them, I heard that I think it was Laura Bradburn who said that he is more than capable of being Kieran Tierney's fullback replacement, more than capable of doing that. But then I heard on the main one with Paul John Dykes, he was on with another guest, and that guest was saying that there's no way that he's a natural left back. So I'm hearing contrasting opinions. I know that last night he probably never shoveled himself in glory in terms of his performances, but neither did most people, I'd imagine. I kind of want to just get your rough gauges right now. Is this boy, who admittedly apparently he's got a very good left foot, he can pick a pass, he's got interesting movement perhaps, but James, if Kieran Tierney gets injured, which I'm sure he will at some point during this season, do you have fears about this boy playing as the reserve fullback?
It's kind of difficult to say, to be honest, because if you're basing it off the games that we've seen in pre-season, then he looks the part. You could actually argue that he's looked every bit as good as Kieran Tierney has in the pre-season games. But again, look, Tierney's been here, seen it, done it, go to t-shirt. You know what you're getting with Kieran Tierney, but it's when the games start and he's up against a big physical presence and it's 10 men behind the ball, that's when I think we're going to be able to kind of get a gauge on him. I know there's a lot of people saying that they're more than happy for him to be the number 2 left back, the backup to Kieran Tierney. I'm not sure if I'm there yet. As much as he has looked good in pre-season, I've just still got the wee kind of niggling thing at the back of my head, the comments that Rodgers made. And look, if Kieran Tierney, God forbid, goes out and gets injured Inamura, and we're starting the season with Inamura, would anybody really say they're comfortable with that? There would still be a kind of low to the unknown. So I wouldn't be surprised. Well, at this point, I fucking probably would be surprised if we signed anybody, but I wouldn't be surprised if we let Inamura go out and loan and maybe look to bring in another left back. But then I really don't know, because the boy, is it Anderson, who was seemingly highly rated, he's away as well. Then we've let Montgomery go, who was also cover for left back, he's away the day. So and then you think of the kind of wide areas as well, and up front we might be getting a phone call to take our shinnies to the game next week. So I really don't know. Like, I imagine in an ideal world he would probably get loaned out for a season so we could get a proper look at him, but just in terms of where the squad is now, which is an absolute embarrassment, I don't think you could allow that to happen just yet.
Well, McGinty, it is a big ask for this Japanese 23-year-old who played a handful of games for his university team, and he plays one full season for a professional team, a struggling Japanese professional team in the league, who played at centre-back. It's a massive ask for him to come over to Europe to play for Celtic, with the demands to play in a different position than what he's used to, and with the possibility of being the deputy for someone who admittedly has a troublesome injury record. As James said, if Tierney get injured tomorrow, would you have confidence in this player deputising? Now, forgive me for saying this, but I do think that you have a track record of having misplaced faith in certain left backs over the years for Celtic, such as Bernabe, and you were certainly a fan of Alex Vai. However, I guess some of the trials and tribulations that Alex Vai went through as a Celtic player, I have the same concern for this boy Inamura, such as like playing against Aberdeen on both occasions, at home and away. Aberdeen, I remember Vai being targeted, and just because he's a young boy, inexperienced, and just to see how he would hold up against the rigours of Scottish football. And I believe on both occasions at Parkhead and at Pittodrie, we had to make the substitution. But albeit I'm talking about Vai, but I'm just saying that similar things can happen if people smell blood in Scottish football, then they will target you. So where are you with Inamura? Is he good enough to be the deputy?
So I had a whole thing in my head on the back of James as well, and thinking, right, I'm going to go down this little path with you until you mentioned Alex Bailly. And I kind of have to reassess what I'm about to say, and I'll start with saying I would have been all happy for Alex Bailly to be the understudy / backup / rotation to Kieran Tierney. And if I'm going to stand by that, I think I have to stand by Inamura potentially being that same player. But I want to finish off, well, I want to continue from that by saying that when we signed him, we all had the doubts. We all did exactly what Brendan Rodgers did, and we all know that Inamura is not a Brendan Rodgers signing. It is what it is club-wise, whether we agree with it or disagree with it, whether we've actually got scouts doing a proper job in Asia or not the conversation at this point. But he's clearly been a signing made by the club, which plenty of clubs do across the world. I've not got an issue about how we do it as the issue generally, and Jed would probably agree with this in the chat. The issue about how Celtic do signings isn't that we do what other clubs do, it's that we don't actually do what the manager wants us to do, which, again, the quotes of ambition and signing players for now is prominent from Rodgers. But when it comes to Inamura, he's clearly been a club signing for a couple of reasons. And I think we've all done the same thing that Rodgers did, which was, okay, one full season, struggling Japanese squad. We'll see how he does, but he's not the number one guy. He's not going to be in my match day squad. He's not going to be somebody that I'm using for now. He is a project. He is a club signer for the future. Brendan Rodgers and James, you, me, and everybody else wants to ensure that we've got backup to Kieran Tierney, this adequate bare minimum. The surprise is that Inamura actually, so far, looks like he might be better than we all gave him credit for. And that's probably our naivety. We've done it before with Japanese players, and we've done it before with Ange Postecoglou coming over from Japan as a manager. We underestimated the calibre and the level of quality that these guys are bringing. And I think a lot of us can be, forgiven for underestimating how the kind of youth development works in Japan. And the more that we get used to Japanese players in that market, I think we all start to realise that they utilise university football time, kind of like how the Americans use college football. It's not that he's only played university football until he's 22 and he's been completely amateur, and he's not kicked a professional ball, he's not kicked football for 5 years. It's that he's got to 18, 19 and some clubs have turned around and says, look, we like you, but you're not ready. Do your studies and do your scholarship sort of thing, and we're going to keep tabs on you, and then we're going to bring you in. And they develop them through that way. It's like their reserve league, just prolonged. I mean, even Liam Scales literally done this in Ireland. He played university football until he was 22, 23 almost as well, before he made it pro, and then we signed him over the year later. It's a very similar thing. It's no disrespect, and it is amateur football, but it's not like the B squad and the guys, dicked around for 8 years in the B squad till he was 23, and also we're like going to stop playing against Plymouth Club. He's actually went through a structured development program while being at university, so he's further on than what we all probably thought he was going to be, Brendan Rodgers included. The problem that we're going to have is what was highlighted yesterday about how far behind I think we actually are in our development for pre-season, and is he actually ready? Now, I've just told you that Nygren looks in intelligent football and really good. He's going to light it up and he's going to be great. Inamura's looked, I wouldn't say just as good, but he's impressed just as much for different reasons. So he might be, but I'm with James. If I was told that Kieran Tierney gets injured tonight or tomorrow and Inamura's the go-to guy, am I confident? No. But I'm kind of, I don't know what the best word for it, not hopeful, not excited as such, but not excited. It's like there is still doubts. Yeah, possibly that kind of quietly optimistic. There is still doubts though. Is he able to make the step up from pre-season to competitive football. And I think he might be, but there's still a big risk over there because of maybe our own perceived doubts and lack of understanding of where his game time is. But it is what it is. But I am actually impressed with him. I think he's done really well pre-season. He's looked a lot better than anybody would have gave him credit for. And I'll quote, not quote, but paraphrase what's the guy's name? Joe from the Huddle Breakdown, the one with Laura. The other day, he done a whole spreadsheet breakdown about the transfer kind of projections that we've done.
Yeah, I watched that.
Yeah, he made a good point earlier on in that podcast about Inamura. He's a kind of player that he's playing chess while other players are playing checkers, in the way that he's not just playing like Liam Scales wants to play the first clear pass that he sees and that's it. You can see Inamura's trying to play a pass that will open up 2 or 3 moves and get him further forward or get him a second pass. He's an intelligent player and he's got something there. It's just whether or not he can bring it to the competitive side of Scottish football. And we'll see that soon enough.
Yeah. That was actually a really good episode for Joe. He did a lot of homework in terms of that research. So I guess moving on and still talking about players, I do want to get your thoughts from both of you on John Kenny and Dane Murray. But kind of merging that into the next topic, which is the competitive action is starting very, very soon, starting in 9 days. So it's basically next weekend, the 3rd of August, Sunday, 4:30 kickoff. So I wanted to get your thoughts on how are we shaping up, James in particular, at this moment in time. What is our starting 11 going to be? So I want to get your thoughts, and we can kind of go through defence, midfield, and attack. Obviously, Kasper Schmeichel is the favoured goalkeeper, so I don't think you would have any qualms with Kasper Schmeichel retaining the number 1 jersey. But in defence, can you explain to me, because I know that Cameron Carter-Vickers came in from the cold last night, and he had apparently a bit of a shaky game. So if we're starting next week, are you starting Cameron Carter-Vickers, and who else is in the lineup for the defensive 4, please?
So I would start Cameron Carter-Vickers. To be honest, I think you've had to. I don't think Scales has covered himself in any glory either. I think Trusty's actually been no bad, and Dane Murray's been no bad as well. But I think the centre-half pairing that Rodgers will look to start the season will be Carter-Vickers and Trusty. I think Trusty will come back in. And then obviously Alistair Johnson at right back if he's going to be ready for next week. And Kieran Tierney to start at left back. But I know the 2 kind of main positions that we're talking about is centre half, but I think the centre half pairing to start the season is going to be Carter-Vickers and Trusty. And hopefully come the end of the window we'll have signed another centre half to come in and compete with Trusty, or take a jersey off him, preferably.
Do you think that, given that Alistair Johnson, who's just started back training, he never played last night, would you start him next weekend, or do you think it might come too early and he'll fall on Anthony Ralston?
If it was me, I'd start him, to be honest with you, but I just don't particularly rate Ralston. And I think when you consider what the forward line is going to be, you're going to need to have your fullbacks kind of hopefully involved in the play quite a bit. And I trust Johnston 100 times more than I trust Ralston for that. So I know what did Canada get put at the Gold Cup 2 weeks ago or something? It's no exactly as if it's a long time ago. So I would have no qualms with putting them back in.
Fair enough. Moving on to midfield. In fact, no. Can I just get your thoughts before we do? So just to linger on the centre back position. So I guess we're going to roll the dice again with Trusty as the preferred partner to Cameron Carter-Vickers. But what's your initial thoughts been on Dane Murray? By all accounts, I've heard that he's kind of came back from his injury. I think he had a loan spell last season, and he's bulked up. He looks more like a man now rather than the boy that we remember him whenever he first made his debut for Celtic and those Champions League qualifiers a while back. How do you rate him right now? Because in terms of the roster, pardon me for using that American term, but we've got rid of Lagerbielke, we've got rid of Nawrocki, and it looks like we're going to be trying to find a move for Stephen Welsh to go out. So do you think that Rodgers' faith in Dane Murray is well placed to keep him around? Does he look like a good prospect now?
Well, to be honest, I think he had a pretty poor start to pre-season. It was either Estrella or it would have been the Estrella game, wasn't it? He looked as if he'd won a competition to play, and ever since then he's picked it up and he's been good. Based off what we've seen in pre-season, you'd say he was the number 2 centre back. Obviously, you need to factor in that Carter Vickers hasn't really kicked a ball pre-season, but I think that he will stay about. I think Rodgers does have faith in him, and I think that was borne out with the fact that he was due to start the Rangers game at Parkhead towards the end of the season, the game that Nawrocki ended up playing. So I think there is a bit of faith in him, a bit of trust in him. I think he will stay about, but I don't think he'll be the starting centre half, no. But I think there is a place in the squad for him.
Fair enough. Okay. McGinty. So moving on to midfield. So basically, as at this moment, what is our starting lineup? So midfield, what's your thoughts?
I think we're going to start with Nygren, Hatate, and McGregor. Not a flat 3. I think Nygren will be further forward, but I think there'll be a bit of fluctuation between them. And I think Engels, as I said earlier, it's going to be Engels and Hatate that rotate the spare position. The McGowan and Bernardo, they're the ones who are going to miss out, I think, most, and probably more so Bernardo. I think we might actually see him move on. But the starting 3, for me, definitely looks like it's going to be Nygren, Hatate, and McGregor.
That probably seems to be the most straightforward, the midfield position, rather than up front or in defence. I guess my kind of, I totally agree with you, and I'm sure James would as well, unless he wants to kind of pipe in. But I guess my kind of concerns when James was running through the defence is Cam Carter-Vickers. I think we've got Lovett. He's saying that CCV nowhere near fully fit, and I guess the question is for next weekend, who are we starting? Because that's whenever the main games commence. You don't want to be kind of dropping points. You want to be, albeit I don't want to be picking Cam Carter-Vickers on reputation alone. And again, the same with Alistair Johnson. Has Alistair Johnson even had the chance to have a pre-season yet? Do we need to give him an extra week or two before we throw him into the firing line? So I guess that's a question I have anyway, a concern that I've got. So I don't know if you do start Vickers, if you do start Johnson, and potentially it could be Tierney, Trusty, Dane Murray and Ralston. That could possibly be it. Just depends on where people are in fitness next Sunday. But another kind of contentious one is up front. Here's one for you. Who's got the centre forward jersey? Who's got it? Is it Ida or is it Johnny Kenny?
It should be Johnny Kenny. I'll say it should be Johnny Kenny. And it's not controversial to say that. But it won't be. It'll be Adam Ida. And I've got a lot of time for Brendan Rodgers now. I think he's on the same page as myself and many other Celtic fans. The quotes last night about ambition and needing players to come in the door, not projects. I think he's screaming out for more players to come in. I think he's screaming out for a new striker of some kind because none of our strikers are worthy of being the number 9 striker, the number 1 striker for Celtic and leading that line. None of our strikers are. And Adam Ida has been absolutely honking this pre-season, let alone anything he's done previously, or rather not done. But of all the performances of pre-season, Johnny Kenny deserves to start next week, but he probably won't.
Okay. So is that the case? Fan favourite would be Johnny Kenny, but the reputation of Adam Ida and the fact that he's, to an extent, been there and done it, that he takes the centre forward jersey. James, would you agree with that?
I think McGinty's spot on. I don't even think it's that Johnny Kenny's a fan favourite. I just think it's that Adam Ida at the moment is kind of universally unpopular. I think we will stick by him. I know he's coming in for a lot of stick now, but I said before that I wouldn't put him on the scrap heap just yet. but at the same time, I also would be nowhere near comfortable with him being our number one striker for the season. But no, I think it will be there next week. But if you're basing it off performances, then probably put fucking Sinisalo up front before you put Ida up front, to be honest, based off what we've seen.
Who complements? Which of the two strikers complements the style that Brendan Rodgers wants to play most?
But this is it's absolutely Johnny Kenny. But this is where I think Ida gets look, Ida's big. He looks like a big physical guy, but he isn't. He's no that guy, and I think when we're playing him, like, I know was it Atlanta we done it, and he was all right, but he just couldn't hold the ball, and his fucking foot was like a trampoline; it was bouncing everywhere, and it feels like ever since then we've kind of persisted with him being this hold up, link up striker, and I don't think he's ever been that. I don't think when I think back even to his loan spell, everything was running onto the goal. It wasn't with his back to goal. And I don't think he's that player. I think he's getting asked to do a role that he's not suited to. Granted, when he's played pre-season, he looks as if he's never seen a ball in his life. He should be somewhat competent at the role. But I think he gets a bit of I wouldn't say it's unfair because you're judging on what you're seeing, but I just think the role he's getting asked to play in the team to be this. Like, when I think he'd in the last kind of few months, it's almost him at the halfway line where he's back to goal, and then he doesn't look comfortable doing it. But if he does manage to keep it and play it out wide or whatever, then we're crossing it in and there's nobody in the box because he's no there in time, and he just isn't. For me, isn't that guy. I think he does maybe a kind of running in behind finisher, as opposed to your kind of target man type that's going to hold up the ball and link up the play.
Yeah.
I hate that you just said the running in behind type, because after last night, and it's not just last night, it's many games, he looks like he doesn't want to run. In fact, he looks like he can't run. And I mean this as a guy who carries a bit of extra weight himself. I'm no spring chicken. I can't run the length of my fucking body. But as a professional footballer, Adam Ida does not look like he's in any fit shape to be running around the football pitch at times. We all, I say we all, lots of people all last season kept banging on the drum of, he never had a pre-season, he was casted out at Norwich. That's why he looked kind of unfit and lethargic or not match sharp for the entirety of last season. When pre-season's 6 weeks of games at best, and yet he needed the whole of last season and never got there in professional, match sharpness readiness. It baffled the hell at me that was an excuse. And yet we've given him all but one game, 9 days of left of pre-season before we kick a competitive ball, and he looks like he's literally just came off the beach eating a kebab. That's what he looks like, and I don't mean that disrespectfully, but as a professional footballer, you kind of want as a football fan, so you want your professional footballers to look like they actually take their profession seriously and their fitness seriously. He doesn't look like he's wanting to do anything. He's got no desire to run around that pitch, to run in behind the lines, as James says is probably his preferred thing. He doesn't look like he wants to do it, or he's able to do it, and I feel really fucking bad saying that, because I'm sure he's fucking loving his time at Celtic and loves the fact that he's a Celtic player and boyhood dreams and all that, and I'm all proud for him to be that, but we all gave him that fucking leeway last season, yet here he is. No excuse about, Norwich casting him out and he didn't know why he was playing football. There's no excuse of he didn't get to do a pre-season with Celtic, so he's looking out of position, out of shape or whatever. He's had it, and he's actually looks worse than he did when he came to Celtic last season. Like physically, mentally, whatever you want to call it, he looks like a worse player.
Can I ask you this question? Does Ida strike you as the man who enjoys his football up here, and kind of building on that, even if things are not going well for him and he's not being picked, do you think that he relishes the challenge? Do you think he's that type of individual?
How do you mean?
Well, is he his own worst enemy? Is he the type of player who maybe prefers to be the third choice at Norwich, where it sounds really disparaging on his character and professionalism, but do you think that he's...
Are you asking me if he's one of these footballers? And I think Killian Sheridan might have been like this. I'm not too sure. I don't want to put words into anybody's mouth. But one of these footballers who actually doesn't enjoy football. It's just a good career rather than something he enjoys.
I mean, perhaps. I mean, somebody who really enjoys the challenge, who thrives upon that, who pushes himself day in, day out. Is he that type of professional? Whenever he meets adversity and you get the best out of him? Because
No.
I'll look at this guy, and whenever he came in at Celtic, the chips were down. Kyogo wasn't firing in all cylinders, and we needed somebody to lift us up. And Adam Ida just fitted that role, and things were going so well. But whenever we made the signing permanent, and then he came back, he just looked a different player. The confidence wasn't there, and if you're, he did contribute goals, but I guess his highlight was probably the Aston Villa game, albeit we did lose that game. But he operated within the penalty box, and perhaps maybe his role was more defined. I just wonder about Adam Ida, if he's able to perk himself up, if he's able to push himself, or if he needs a kick up the arse or an arm around the shoulder. But I just have quite vocally in the podcast, I've always had my doubts about Adam Ida since he came back.
No, I think I get where you're going with it, and I think I understand what you mean. And my short answer would be, yeah, I don't think he's that kind of player. He had the opportunity to take over from Kyogo, and he never took it. And that's why we played Maeda up front for parts of the second half of last season until Jota got injured. Then Maeda had to go left. And then we persisted with Adam Ida. And I think it's probably harsh on Johnny Kenny, because Johnny Kenny probably could have done with that game time more than Adam Ida, because Adam Ida doesn't look like the kind of person. And again, I'm sure if we were to meet Adam Ida in a bar and have a drink with him, he'd be a lovely lad. So I don't mean this in a totally negative, bad way. I was probably a similar mentality when I was at college or university. I was there for a reason, but I never applied myself the right way to do well in education. I think Adam Ida's
your school report card that we're talking about here.
Pretty much, yeah. But I think Adam Ida's a kind of maybe a similar way where, yes, he's a professional footballer. He's playing for Celtic. He's probably living the dream. But see, when I don't know how I'm making this metaphor fit in my head, but like if I had an exam coming up, but if I had an exam coming up next week, say my exam was next Friday, I wouldn't sit and study this weekend. I'd be out on the piss doing a podcast with the guys, and I'll say I'll study on Monday. Fuck it, Monday will come around and I'll be using it as a hangover cure, and I'll watch some Boardwalk Empire, and I'll study on Tuesday, and then Tuesday will come around and there'll be an excuse and I'll study on Wednesday. I think Adam Ida's probably that kind of character. The heart is in the right place, but I'll do it tomorrow is the kind of probably attitude. So the way that you look at guys like Scott Brown, for a big prime example, even Callum McGregor just now, and your model professionals, every day they'll be out, first one in the gym, last one out of the gym, first one on the training pitch. Adam Ida doesn't strike me as that kind of guy. He seems like the guy who'd, I'm here because I'm told to come here. Not that he dislikes it, but he's there because that's his job, rather than the professional or the personal willpower to improve himself, fitness and all the rest of it. I think I don't want to be so bad to say going through the motions, but I don't think he's applying himself as well as he should or could be for what Celtic's number one striker should be.
Mm-hmm. So, again, we're just talking about how we observe it. We generally, obviously, don't know the guy, but it's just how he comes across. And yes.
Can I just say before we do move on, Strangelove made a point earlier, and I think we all kind of skipped by it. And I don't mean to have not done that. When you asked the question, who's the number one striker, or who would start as a striker next week, and we all just said Johnny Kenny. Dyson Maeda is the correct, real answer, but I think we're all accepting that Dyson Maeda is unfortunately going to play left wing because there's literally no other fit left winger at the club.
Yeah. I think we can all agree.
I do agree, Strangelove.
But when it came, after Kyogo left, whenever it came to the crunch, Maeda was playing the centre forward because he was the best that we had, as long as we had, somebody able to play left wing. So I think we would all agree upon that. James, moving on to just like we've spoken about the centre forward. So the other two people, the left forward and the right forward for the front three, just to kind of complete what we think we should start the season with. So Maida on the left, I'd imagine. On the right, who's playing?
You or McGinty, you can sort out these two positions between yourself, I think. Who's left footed and who's right footed. No, I think starting on the wings next week, it'll be Maida on the left wing, and I think it'll be Yang on the right, which I just find embarrassing, quite frankly.
Did you see Brendan Rodgers' comments? I don't know if it was today or yesterday about Yang, where he said that he at the moment he is a starter. He's a starting winger. So I've got no notion to let him leave Celtic. We need him.
I think when you read the comment in its entirety, it's probably another, I would say thinly veiled, but no so thinly veiled dig at the board, because the point that he or at least that I took that he was making, is that Yang is a squad player, but at the moment circumstances have dictated that he's going to have to be a starting winger for us, which I just find incredible, to be honest with you. And look, he could have done a step over against Dundee 6 months ago and all the rest of it. I personally don't think he's good enough. I think he's had a decent enough pre-season, in fairness, but I just don't see it with the guy at all. I think he's very... I just think there's a lot of games that pass him by. I know he had that wee spell when his missus was on and all the rest of it, but that kind of tailed off very quickly, and then it never really came back. He's had a no bad pre-season. Part of that is probably because he's had to play so much football during it, but I think it will be Yang that starts. And I think even just running through the team that we've mentioned there, we're talking about Carter Vickers no starting. We're talking about Dane Murray potentially having to come in, or it being Scales and Trusty at centre half. We're talking about Johnson not being fit, and it maybe having to be Ralston and all the rest of it. And I just find it mental that we're getting into this season, at least starting the season. I know the window's still open, but so much weaker than we ended last season. And I know we've signed Tierney, which ticks a box for obviously the left back position. But when you take it into the context of the full, not even just the team, the full squad, it's just not good enough.
Completely. We're starting off the new season on the back foot. And I was watching Axom earlier on today, and the guest on it, he actually made a really good point. He said, we can all remember back to the last game of the season, the cup final against Aberdeen, and we finished off that game. I think it was Maida, Johnny Kenny, and James Forrest up front, and the overall sentiment was we need to strengthen the overall squad, not just the first 11, but the and now potentially we're starting this next Sunday with like Maida, Ida, or Johnny Kenny, and Yang or James Forrest. There's no kind of feel good factor in that regard. We've not addressed these issues. And I guess, that kind of brings us on to the transfer window and this lack of activity, shall we say. So obviously we've brought in the goalkeeper Duhan, who's not worth a mention. We've brought in Inamura, brought in Kieran Tierney, we've brought in Nygren, we've brought in Osmond and Yamada as well. The latter two are curious signings. Yamada, 25-year-old, so Rodgers said that he's excited about what he can do, that he'll be a squad player at least. But in terms of the transfer window, we still obviously get several weeks before that closes, but I guess the two kind of most recent names who I mentioned, Balak Wisha, the Royal Antwerp winger, he's kind of constantly being mentioned, and you just think, well, if we've got the funds, if we want to sign this player, then why are we flirting with his club about this? Why are we not just pushing it and getting the deal done? What are we haggling over? Is it really worth to haggle over? where's the reward in like trying to debate for another 500 grand, but you're signing him late, and then he's going to come in late and acclimatise late? Is it not better just spending the money now? But of course, if he's not worth the money, then why are we prolonging this? And I guess the other one is that boy Jacob Broom. I mentioned it, McGinty. You had told me though that the rumour is that we put in that bid. Jacob Broom is a kind of nifty looking winger, attacking mid, plays for Go Ahead Eagles. He's a really young kid, but he had an exceptional season last season. He got goals, he got assists. He's one of the prospects in the Eredivisie. And the rumour is that we put in 1.5 million for him, but Royal Antwerp are quoted as saying, look, he's at least worth 5 million. So why are you bothering with us about that? So apparently that was like a month ago, and we're still kind of no further on. However, Stephen McGowan, the reporter, was talking about it recently. Again, what's your thoughts, I guess, on that player anyway? Because I know that you had made some comments about it.
As a player himself, no, I don't know too much. I'm not going to pretend that I'm watching the Go Eagles on a weekly basis. Of course, no. But if he's a player that we've scouted, if he's a player that the club has identified, or Rodgers has identified, or somebody has identified, then get on with it. The point that I kind of half was trying to make with the fact that bid, I think it was McGowan you said was the one who kind of made the tweet or something. It was 2 days ago, I think, maybe yesterday, that bid had been rejected and they were looking for 5 million. On the face of it, for a club to turn around and say, we want 5 million, and us to turn around and say, I'll offer you 1.5, it's fucking embarrassing, to be fair. I mean, all right, don't just go straight in and give them the 5 million. I get there's negotiations, but to offer 1.5 when the asking price was 5 is quite fucking pathetic and quite regular for what Celtic do. To then find out, maybe people knew this before the fact, or maybe it just kind of became known because of how it's reported, but then to find out that bid was actually submitted 6 weeks ago is even more embarrassing, that we've not moved on or progressed in the negotiations or just dropped all interest in him. Where we at? And I say that in a way because there's a couple of years ago, it was kind of made public knowledge. I think it was just before Ange came in. There's transfers that we were doing. In fact, no, it was Ange's first season. It was under Don Mackay. This is one of the criticisms that happened at the same time, and I don't know if it's on Don Mackay himself or on the club itself. But there's a time at that point when Don Mackay was in that people were like outside of the club, like other clubs, other agents, were acknowledging that dealing with Celtic was really fucking poor and bad. Like, they would have contact with one person from Celtic who would ask the initial inquiry, and it would be like weeks later they'd get a reply to an email. Like, Celtic would come in and say, oh, we're interested in your player. What's your thinking? What's your going price? And they would reply back like, type, £5 million. Let's use the Pume example. And it'd be like 3, 4, 5 weeks later, Celtic, and it'd be a different person from Celtic would get back in touch with them with some random other comment. Oh, that's a bit out of our price range, or that's whatever it was at the time. And other clubs are looking at us and going, what the fuck are you doing? What? We thought you'd gave up on this sort of thing. And that's totally what Celtic do far too often, and it looks like we're doing it again with this guy here. If he's a £5 million winger that's had a good season last year, I'm not saying just straight up pay 5 million, but don't offer 1.5 if that's going to be anywhere near accepted. I know there's negotiations. At least come in at 50%. Come in at 2.5 and see if they say 4.5. Come in at 3. See if they say 3.5. Get him at 3.2. There's a fucking deal. A Dutch winger, is he Dutch? I don't know if he's Dutch or not, but obviously playing in the Dutch league for 3.5 million sounds like a good fair price to me. Let's not talk about Dick Berbatov, but that seems like a fair price to me. But coming in at 1.5 is just so fucking amateur, so cheap. It is so frustrating when we're screaming out for wingers to the point that literally, as the guys in the comments are saying, so I use on that side of my screen, that we can't let Yang go. And I'm with, I think it was Strangelove, I think it was maybe somebody else, maybe it was Smell the Glove. Yang's improved every pre-season, every 6 months. You can see the improvement. You can see his desire. You can see he's trying, and I'm okay with him being in the squad. But if we're relying as Yang as your starting right winger because James Forrest is getting too old and Maeda is the only fit left winger, just sign a fucking winger and stop offering 1.5 million when the asking price is 5. Just get it fucking done.
Well, I guess that we are kind of building up to a crescendo of frustration right now, and because it's us three
Hi,
on the
Jed.
podcast tonight, we don't have anyone in the podcast to moderate our negativity, which is good. So we've got a kind of free reign here. James, we know that Jed in the podcast has been extremely frustrated with the strategy so far this summer, and again, I mentioned at the start that we've got a track record of this. Where are you with it? What's your level of frustration? Now, before you kind of, sorry, that's a terrible habit of mine to ask you a question. You open your mouth, you're about to say, hold on. I've got Strange Love the Doctor here saying, I don't really think that Celtic conducts its transfer negotiations in public. It's more likely agents playing the press to create external pressure. Just saying. And it's a fair comment that we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but all we can comment on is the lack of meaningful signing so far in this window. I think we can all be happy with Nygren. We can all be happy with Kieran Tierney, but we haven't strengthened the loss of Kyogo. We've lost a fantastic winger in Kuhn. Again, what's your thoughts on the approach again this summer?
It's just all wrong, and it's I feel as if I say this all the time, but it's like watching a film you've seen before. You know how it goes, and I said last week that it feels as if us as a support, we're almost trained to have a bare minimum. Fucking hell, I've tried my teeth in the night. We tend to have a bare minimum in mind, fall just short of the bare minimum, and then say, but it's all right. He was too dear. This happened, that happened, yada yada yada. All the excuses you can throw out. As it stands just now, we're a week away from August. We're a week away from the season starting. Our best summer signing was agreed in January. That is all we need to know. We are getting into a new season. Fair enough, we needed improvement at left back. Greg Taylor was leaving. We kicked the arse out that and all. Was he going to stay? Was he leaving? We dragged the arse out that. Kieran Tierney signed a pre-contract in January. We waited until the summer to announce it. There was no announcement prior to the start of this transfer window. I think Rodgers maybe acknowledged that in an interview or a press conference, but in terms of actual official announcement, there was nothing until the transfer window opened. But you'll still get folk wanting to do victory laps for a signing that realistically was made 6 months ago. When we now sit here, as I say, a week away from the season starting, weaker than we lost a cup final, and we were terrible in that cup final. We now sit here weaker than that team, which is nothing short of negligence. And I know people will say, but there's still X amount of weeks left in the window. Brilliant, perfect. We've got time to fix it. But the season starts next week. So if we go in next week and we fall short, if it comes to the qualifiers and we fall short and we drop down into Europa League, that excuse isn't going to wash. And where we're at right now, I cannot say. I don't even know who we can get in the qualifiers, to be honest with you. But I can't say that I'd be overly confident in coming up against anybody with the options that we've got, specifically in the forward areas. Mm-hmm. We sit in the 25th of July with the exact same weaknesses that we've seen last season, if not even weaker and lighter in some areas. We've done absolutely nothing to address it. The boy Osmond was a strange signing all round for me. On the face of it, I thought it was a signing for the B team, but now he came in, Rodgers gave him the glowing report, he was going to be with the first team. I couldn't even tell you a game that he's played pre-season. I know he has played, but that's how much of an impact he's made in my mind. He's just it's like an absolute nothing signing. You could probably, in my opinion, have that in the same bracket as Ross Doohan. It looks as if they're never ever going to kick a ball for us. Tierney, brilliant, fantastic. It was done 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Nygren, is the one that's the outlier. Nygren's the one that's came in and looked the part. He's looked good. Everybody else, I mean, we've signed this Yamada. We went through our team there. Nobody mentioned him. Now, be that because we've no seen him, be that because he's no played, all the rest of it. But it's, as I say, we finished the season last year, as you say, with Johnny Kenny and James Forrest up front. We're getting into it this year, and that arguably is your strongest forward line. We finished the cup final with that, and we're all going, terrible. There's work needs to be done. We're now 2 months from, in fact, it's 2 months a day. 2 months a day removed for that cup final, a week before the season starts, and the two players that were deemed no good enough to play in a cup final are arguably going to be first picks for us next week. I don't understand how anybody can defend that. You can be the biggest supporter of the board, you can, and all the rest of it. I don't understand how you can accept that. And I get that people always say, I'm genuinely no digging out Endo in this podcast because people in this podcast, they say it. But it's easier to get deals done at the end of the window. I'd love to know what backs that up, because for what I seen last year, we got deals done at the end of the window, but it seemed to increase the price. I mean, we chased Ida for long enough, and his price started up at, was it 4 or 5 million, and we ended up bringing him in for 9. So I would love to know what the strategy is. I mean, you've even got the manager coming out and basically saying it's not good enough. We've seen him doing it before. We know how it ends. And I just, for the life of me, do not understand it. You've got a manager, I know, getting off in a tangent, but you've got a manager that sat at his unveiling press conference, and regardless of how we felt about him personally, and I've said it, and it still hasn't changed, the biggest question mark over Rodgers for me, in terms of his full managerial career, is his recruitment. I think he backed my point up last summer when we signed Trusty, Engels and Ida for the money that we paid for them. Doesn't represent value for money. If that's playing a part in the board's thinking, then we'd be as well letting Rodgers go the now. I don't see the point in, if you've got a guy there that you're not confident to give money to, yet what the squad is so weak, why continue on with him? Why no go, look, thanks for your efforts. And if Rodgers walked away, fair enough, and I know it's probably never going to happen, but I just, for the life of me, to get back to what I was saying, he sat at his unveiling press conference and he spoke about making progress in Europe. The domestic bread and butter, we were dominant, and we've continued to be so. But the point he made was he wanted to progress in Europe. And we have made progress in Europe. We've made literal progress in Europe. It's no, we ran Real Madrid close for an hour. We made literal progress in Europe. And we got through in the Champions League. We get through to the knockout round. Money was banked for the group stages. So it gets to that point where we're a selling club. You know, Kun, Kyogo, Hatati, potentially a couple of them are going to leave. It's to be expected. It's the way the model's designed. But surely, after everything the guy's done for us, he's basically done what he said he was going to do, and he still thinks we can kick on again, which is what you've always got to think. The board apparently have just went, nah, don't fancy it. Whether that's based on previous, as I say, previous windies, where his signings maybe haven't been excellent, or whether it's a day with his contract situation and maybe he's gave word that he's no committing his future, or maybe he's gave word that he's leaving next year, or whatever it would be, it should not play any part whatsoever in Celtic's transfer window. The next manager, if Rodgers left Inamura, the next manager is going to come in and face the exact same problems. So I honestly, I just do not understand it, and I do not understand how anybody can defend it. And I will stop my minute. That's not me saying I think our business is done, and I don't think we're going to go out and sign anybody. I think we will go out and sign players. I think we absolutely have to. I think it should have been done by now. And I know if we sign 2 wingers, 3 wingers, a striker, you get people, fucking bedwetters doing their victory lap and all that. It's no the point. The point is, literally, we've touched on it earlier with Engels and Ida. need a pre-season. Well, guess what? It's pre-season. We've had the full of pre-season to get these guys in. So we're now going to find ourselves, touch wood, we bring on all the players we need. If they don't hit the ground running, the same folk that have told us, brilliant, we got them in the end, they'll then be telling us, they need to get a pre-season in. And well, we're going to keep going in that same cycle. So, it's the same thing that we say every other year, to be honest, but I just do not understand the logic in it.
A lot of good points there, James. I am so glad that you're back on our side and ranting and raving. I was I did have the feel last night that you joined the other team. Magenti, I know that you are totally agreeing with a lot of what James had said. Okay, there was a lot of nods, verbal nods as well. So just to kind of throw in something else into the mix. In terms of improving the squad, not your Christmas wish list here, but what are the non-negotiables for you in terms of players that we must bring in for certain positions?
At this point, we need two wingers, a centre back, and potentially a left back, depending on how we see Inamura play in the next week or two in competitive games. But at least two wingers and a centre back, absolutely minimum and of quality.
Your strategy behind that, because you've not mentioned centre forward, I'm going to imagine it's because you've been a big advocate for Maida playing as a centre forward, and so you want him to be,
yes.
Yeah. So you want him in the middle, two wingers, a centre back, and a left back. Is that, did I hear you correctly?
Yeah, but if you're going to push me on the Diaz and Maida thing, yes, I prefer him through the middle. But at the same time, I'd also get rid of Adam Ida and I'd get another striker as well. And with James on the whole Osman thing, we built that signing up. Like, we pushed that fucking social media shit to the nth degree, along with Kieran Tierney and Ross Doohan at the time. We were all fucking good to be back shit. And Osman was caught up in the midst of all that fucking PR stunt, and yet he's nowhere to be seen. That to me tells a story of yet another club signing, which again, nobody's against the club doing signings, but we're against the club doing signings when the club don't know the fuck that they're doing, which is the problem, because we don't have a football infrastructure that allows it. We've got fucking Nicholson and Peter Lawwell and fucking Chris Mackay making signings, and the fucking most experience that any of those guys has is Peter Lawwell was a financial controller in 93, 94 and knew that if he spent money back then that it was going to go fucking tits up, because it did go tits up in 94. And Peter Lawwell now does the complete opposite, yet the same thing in 2025 of trying not to run the club like the Kellys and the Whites did, but he actually does run it like they do, but just in a weirdly different way of actually making too much money without fucking spending it. Tangents, sorry, Gavin, not the question you were asking. What do I see that we need? Yes, not to be a Christmas wish list. I'm accepting that, Diaz and Maida's probably, as far as we can see, he's the best striker we've got, and I'd like to see him there, but I would like to see another striker other than Adam Ida. But I'm realistic enough that it's not going to happen. So 2 wingers and a centre-back is the bare minimum of real quality. Like a centre-back of the equal, if not greater, than Carter Vickers. And 2 wingers that are of the equal to Kuhn and Jota, left and a right, so that they can rotate with them and play with them and we can actually have a good fucking attacking system. There was a point I was going to make, though, and I'm going to change the subject slightly. And this was pointed out on various social media channels as well. Teams are fucking making signings across Europe right now, yet we're not. We always make the excuses of, good players want to wait to see what European competition Celtic are going to be in. They are waiting to see if we get into the Champions League. Okay, that's an excuse. Let's run with it. Players are waiting to see what the big clubs do and where players are moving around and where they might go. Okay, fair enough. We'll use that as an excuse. Do you know what's happening in Europe just now? Teams like fucking Antwerp, Club Brugge, Rapid Vienna, Feyenoord, teams that we should be higher than in a pecking order of transfers, or whatever notion you want to use it, we should be higher than them. Feyenoord have signed like 5 or 6 players totaling about £40 million so far, yet Celtic have bought players totaling about £3 million. They've signed an attacking midfielder, a right winger, a centre-back, another attacking midfielder, a centre-forward, a left-back, a left winger, and a goalkeeper, totaling about 40 to 50 million, yet Celtic sit here spending £3 million in total, weaker than we were at the cup final, as James says, and we're screaming out for literally every player that Feyenoord have just signed. I'm not saying we have to go sign that exact player the Feyenoord have signed, but surely to fuck, if Feyenoord can go out and spend 40 million on 5 or 6 players, Celtic should be able to do it by the end of July. Come on to fuck.
I'm not the biggest fan of like comparisons with other clubs. I think
it's not so much the comparison of the other club, it's the comparison of, not the comparison, it's debunking the fucking myth of excuses. Oh, we can't sign players until we know what European competition we are. Nobody cares. Feyenoord just signed 5 players and they've got an additional qualifier in the Champions League over us. Yet players are happy to sign for Feyenoord. And Feyenoord are not a bigger club than Celtic. They do not play in a much better league than Celtic. They don't. Yet they're signing 4 or 5 players at £30, £40 million. Why aren't we doing it? Why aren't we getting our fucking eggs lined up? Why have we not got this shit done already? Whoever the players are, why have we not figured this out before now? Because we're going into next week weaker than we ended the season.
Yeah. Well, personally, I was going to keep the Feyenoord segment until the end of the episode, but you've obviously you're blowing it now, so thank you for that.
Sorry.
It's perfectly acceptable. Look, for me, we lost Kyogo. That's a must for me. We have to replace the centre forward. We lost Kuhn. We have to replace Kuhn. I am not happy at rolling the dice again with Trusty as the partner to Cameron Carter-Vickers. On top of that, there's an added concern about the potential injury concerns that's piling on right now with Cameron Carter-Vickers. So, although he is very much our rock at centre-back, how steady is he in terms of like being consistent playing every week? That's a concern that I've got. So for me, we need to roll the dice again with another centre back. For me, that's a must. Mm-hmm. And apart from a centre forward, a right winger, well, Jota's out as well. So who have we got on left wing? We've got Maida, but then who's understudy to Maida? Jota comes back in 6, 7, 8 months. You've got Yang who can potentially play there. Left wing isn't as much of a priority as right wing, but I wouldn't be opposed to a loan deal for a left winger. But going back to the rest of the park, centre back definitely. I'll leave it up to Rodgers' thoughts and his wisdom if we need to bring in an understudy to Kieran Tierney or if he wants to persist with Inamura. If it was a Christmas wish list, I'd bring in a bastard to bolster the midfield. James, do you have any different perspective on that?
I think 2 wingers is an absolute must. Just with the nature of Jota's injury as well. Obviously, Jota's a fantastic player, but these year injuries are kind of notoriously, obviously, difficult to get back up to kind of full speed again, really. So I think 2 wingers is an absolute must, one for each side. Basically, the full forward line. I think we need 2 wingers and a striker. I'm also weighing a left centre half. I wouldn't be. I think Welsh will be away. I think we'll run with Murray, Scales, Trusty, and a new one, and obviously competing for Carter-Vickers. A striker. I don't think we'll sign a centre defensive mid because fucking knows we haven't really addressed it. We've kind of half-arsed it for how long? I think back like Awata was meant to be the guy, Abelgard was meant to be the guy. It's a weird thing that we half acknowledge it and then just totally half-arse it. So I'd be very surprised if we sign one. I'll also add on to the fact that, as I say, I think now we've got an out-and-out number 10. In my opinion, it will leave McGregor, Hatate, McGregor, Engels, whoever it is, to sit. And maybe we will be a wee bit more solid. But then the flip side of that, and I know it's only a friendly, but it's the exact same thing that we've seen umpteen times last year. look, watch that first Ajax goal last night. See when I talk about needing a big bastard for the midfield, that first Ajax goal is a prime example of why. It's McGregor that's carrying the ball forward, and he misplaces a pass. Or the pass is intercepted. Nae harm to McGregor, it happens. But one pass later, we're at 6s and 7s out of the back, and obviously Ajax score for it. I think there's a wee bit of home ball for the guy just prior, but they still score for it. The point is, it shouldn't be literally one pass and you're like, fuck, we're done here. And I feel as if that happens quite regular, to be honest, especially when we take the step up. So I would like to see sign another holding midfielder. And look, the left back, this is where they're coming into they just kind of grind you into submission, accepting less than what you want, but it's fine because we've done it all in the last 2 weeks or whatever. I'd probably like to see us sign a left back as well. It's not a slight on Inamura. I think he's been all right when he's played. I think he's been good when he's played. But as I said, I just don't know if I trust him. So even if it's maybe, if we loan Inamura out and we maybe go and get a left back in and loan, I can see that maybe make a wee bit of sense while we can see exactly where Inamura is at. I say a right back every year just because I don't rate Tony Ralston, but I don't think that's happening. But no, two wingers, a left centre back, a striker, and a holding midfielder for me is the absolute minimum, which I don't think will hit.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people would agree with that. Guys, we're going to go for a wee change of direction right now. We are going to do something completely random, and it'd be if you had to introduce or remove one rule in modern day football, what would it be? I'm going to start it off. I hope you guys have thought about this, but if not, I'm sure you can think on the spot. So if you had to introduce or remove one rule from modern day football, for me, probably an easy one. But bookings whenever you take your shirt off in a celebration, it should not be a thing. I don't see the harm in that. I did think about saying don't get booked if you jump into the crowd, but from a health and safety perspective, I do sort of understand that crowds are rushing towards the front. It can cause damage to people. But I think the most logical one out of the two would be bookings for taking off your shirt for a celebration. It's the most harmless thing ever. It's just about showing passion. I don't see where the danger is with that. So I think they should just get rid of it. So James or Anthony, do you want to continue on?
Offside rule.
Okay.
Maybe not add or remove, but fucking fix it. I'm sure we're all old enough that back in the day, early 2000s, the rule used to be that there had to be daylight between the attacker and the defender. And
yes,
that's what would go back to that. Bring that back in, because that seemed most logical, because this whole, you happen to be leaning and your shoulder's offside when you actually run with your feet, so your shoulder's not actually doing any progressive advantage, or your toenails offside in. I get that VAR is very black and white, and I'm okay with VAR being black and white. And if your toenails offside, technically you are. I'm okay with that fundamentally, but it seems really fucking harsh at the same time. Bring back daylight. The daylight between the two players of any kind, even if it's my arch back and my arse is onside, but my arch back shows daylight, that's offside for me. Show daylight between the two players, you're offside. Just to fucking make it more clear cut.
Is that not what Arsene?
Yeah.
I think Arsene Wenger, yeah, I think he's about the same kind of way, is he not?
I think he was trying to make it if any part of your body was onside. So if you're leaning forward but your foot's in line, then you'd be onside.
Okay,
so
yeah.
That way you're naturally gaining the benefit to the striker.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly it, though, James. The benefit always used to be given to the striker pre-VAR. And I get that that's a kind of gentleman's agreement sort of thing within the rules of the law. But if we're going to be so black and white with VAR, make it so that the benefit is to the striker, because there's far too many offsides that are, yes, far too close. And then there's some under the current rules that, half your body is offside, so you are technically offside. So I get that as well. But let's make the rule a little bit clearer. Daylight between. That's the rule for me. I would go with that.
And smell the glove, you would get rid of the handshaking passions in games. And strangely, the doctor would like to introduce fighting rules like in ice hockey and sin bin. I'm not too sure how many people in the Celtic team at the moment would acquit themselves that well. And we've got a couple, but I don't know. There's certainly a few basketball teams in the Scottish League. So overall, I don't know how would do well. James, any thoughts on that?
With the one I had, I've not really a rule as such, and I'm totally going to contradict myself, but what's new, because I wish it was something that we were actually a lot better at. But see, shielding the ball in the corner, I would just give that as a free kick automatically. If you shield the ball at the halfway line, you get a free kick gave against you for obstruction. If you just stop the ball and hold the guy off behind you, at the halfway line, it's obstruction, it's a free kick the other way. But if you do it at the corner flag, all of a sudden you're shielding the ball. So I wish that we were 100 times better at it. But I would also introduce a rule that was a free kick because it just irritates me. It always ends up with, it can be the clearest corner in the world you'll ever see, but the referee just gives a goal kick because he knows if it's a corner, it's just going to stay, and the same thing will happen again. And the other thing, which absolutely isn't a rule, it's just something that does my tits in when you watch football on the telly, is players covering their mouth to talk to each other. Like you see it on Sky all the time. You're like, mate, you're fucking playing for Stockport County, and they can't cares what you're having for your dinner or who you're picking up in the way home or whatever. So, if I seen any of my players doing that, you're getting fined a year's wages on the spot.
Can I ask you another thing? See, kind of building on that idea that you had, James. See, you see it all the time in football where it will be given as a foul anywhere on the park, but if it happens in the penalty box, then it's not significant enough to be given as a foul. Does that annoy you guys, or do you think that still has some merit?
No, that does my tits in. It's something. The other one, kind of similar to that, is he's caught the ball too well. I'm like, well, if he's caught the ball too well, it would end up in the back of the net in the top corner. It wouldn't end up in the fucking car park. Just say he's hit it too hard. That's what you mean to say. If he's caught it well, it's getting in the goal. So, it's just something people say, innit? Doesn't make sense.
It's kind of like it maybe doesn't fit 100% all the time, but that's a great cross into the box when there's like 3 or 4 players attacking the ball, but the ball goes way over them. Well, it's not that great because he's not hit his fucking target. He's not hit the fucking players. Kind of like he's overhit it. It's not a great ball. Another thing that I know they're bringing it back in. I think they might have tried it at the Club World Cup or something. The whole 6-second rule for the goalkeeper holding the ball. I think they're making it 8 second now. I would love to see that implemented properly because I can't remember when it was not a rule, but seemingly forgotten about.
They've changed it, so this season it actually happened at the Club World Cup as well. If it's the 6 or 8 seconds, the referee counts it on his fingers, and then if the ball hasn't been released, it's a corner of the other team. I think they're bringing that in Scotland. I stand to be corrected on that, but I'm sure that's a new UEFA style rule. I could be wrong.
Is that coming in for this season or
I think so. I think that was
that's going to be so interesting. Another one goalkeeper related as well though is the whole pass back rule. I think we saw maybe it was Argentina in the World Cup a couple of years ago. Or was it Spain? Can't remember, but there's this whole pass back thing with the goalkeeper, and also this kind of same thing works in the whole offside thing. Like if a defender, say you try to play a through ball as an attacker, but the defender slides through and kind of knocks the ball 10 yards off his trajectory, because the defenders touch the ball so much. Technically, the player becomes not offside because it's another touch on the ball. And I'm kind of like, okay,
deliberate action.
Yeah, I'm kind of exactly deliberate action. I'm like, okay, fair enough. And it's similar in some ways with the pass back. Sometimes, like a defender can get in the way of the ball, and he knocks it to the keeper, and the keeper picks it up, and it's played off the defender. It's like, well, technically that's a fucking pass back, because the defender meant to touch the fucking ball. He's clearly wanted to intercept the pass of some kind. He's meant to touch it. So it should be a pass back, or should be an offside tip. I love these rules to be cleared up, and that's why I'm going to stick by what I said with the offside. Daylight, clear it up, make it easy to fucking understand.
Fair dues.
Then another one, just off the back of what Punch says, he lost his foot and he slipped. The other one that does my nothing that everybody uses is he runs the channels. It doesn't mean anything. That just means he runs forward. It does. If I say to you, he ran the channels, it doesn't tell you whereabouts in the park he ran. If he was left, if he was right, if he was in the middle. It just means he runs is what it means. It's just a trendy way of saying he runs. It does my fucking head in. I hate football, man.
Right, moving on to a segment that McGinty, it was yourself who had introduced a couple of weeks back, and it was kind of like Celtic by numbers, talking about each number, and we started off with 1, and now this week we're on 4, and we're talking about particular players who wore that certain jersey. So it is the number 4. So who was it that you had picked to speak about tonight? And are you enjoying those salt and vinegar peanuts? Would you recommend?
They're fucking delightful, by the way. They could be a bit punchier in flavour, but they're fucking delightful. I'm almost finished.
You've done it well to kind of like spread it out over an hour and a half so far. Yeah, so your number 4 player for Celtic, who is it? And I think you were kind of trying to aim it from about, was it 1992 onwards, whenever like numbers were assigned to players that they would use for the full season.
So I think it was Ross done it last week, and Anthony's done it the week before as well. And I'd love to see this wee segment just kind of continue. There's obviously 9 to 9 numbers, not every number's taken, but plenty of numbers for us to see a season of doing this. But it's I forgot what I was half about to say there, Gav. Lead me in with that question. This happens at least once a podcast to me. Lead me in with the question again.
We're talking about like what if you were to have your last meal, what would be your starter, your main and dessert? What would it be?
Was that the was I? No.
That was exactly what I asked you.
That is fuck yous.
He's floundering.
Yeah.
Your number 4. Your number 4 for Celtic.
My number 4 that I've picked for Celtic, and we're going to go, as you were saying, with 92, 93. So we're going to go with 93 onwards, because that's when squad numbers were actually assigned. So yeah. From that date onwards, there's been a fair few. Not got the list in front of me, but I know we've picked a couple of them. And I'll talk about Carl Starfelt, a more recent number 4, shall we say. There's obviously been some good ones like Jackie McNamara and a couple that James might mention. But Carl Starfelt, for me, I don't think we've actually, in modern times, about what we're saying about, we want that left centre-back signed, I don't think he's been replaced since he's left us. And it's a bit weird that we say that, because Carl Starfelt wasn't the best defender that we've had, nor the best number 4. But he's definitely not been replaced, and we're severely lacking since he's left. I mean, him and Carvick has made a great partnership. He started, funnily enough, I think we had a 2-3 podcast under the Jungle Gyms ban at the time. We hadn't long started, and Paddy had made a good point, which I fully agree with at the time. And it's one of those things that not so much opens the eyes of Celtic fans to this kind of way of thinking, but it's one of the more recent times of understanding the whole left-footed centre-back or right-footed centre-back, and how they can play on the wrong side can actually make a difference. Because when Starfelt first came into the Celtic team, he did play on the wrong side, and he played on his wrong foot. And 3 or 4 mistakes that he made early doors was because he was trying to play right centre-back, and he was the wrong way around, because he, in a weird way, he had to a few times have to get the ball from his right foot to his left foot, so that he could play the ball out, and it caused a few issues. But see, once Carl Starfelt got over that kind of first 4 or 5 weeks at Celtic, he became a really dependable centre-back for Celtic, and somebody who since he's left, I don't think we've ever replaced. The closest you've got to trying to replace him is obviously Trusty, but I don't think Trusty could lace the boots of Starfelt. I don't know what he's doing just now. I'd assume he's still at Celtic Vigo. But if we could get somebody like Carl Starfelt back, I think we'd be doing very well.
Mm-hmm. I would agree that I think Cameron Carter-Vickers' most preferred. Why did that just happen?
Sorry, my bad. Wrong button.
I think Cameron Carter-Vickers' most preferred partner in defence was Starfelt. That's my own observation. Out of him, Scales and Trusty, I think his preference would have been Starfelt. James, which number 4 were you going to discuss?
Well, I had Efrain Juarez following on from Lee Naylor last week. So Efrain Juarez. So I couldn't believe it. It was 15 years ago that he signed for us, which I found mental. But no, he came in for. We were actually. I don't know if you were about in the forums at that time, McGinty, but there was a guy who we signed him for that UNAM Pumas in Mexico, and there was a guy on the forum, me McGinty is at that time, who supported that team. He signed up specifically, basically, to tell us about this guy, and I gave him all the rave reviews, and he put up the videos and all the rest of it. We were actually linked to another guy at the time. I think he actually ended up signing for West Ham. Pablo Barrera, his name was. He went on to flop at West Ham, but he was for the same team as well. So I was absolutely buzzing. I based off nothing other than a couple of YouTube videos to get him in. So when we signed him, it was the year we went down to the Emirates for the Emirates Cup. Daft bought a Mexico flag to take down. And that was probably the highlight of his Celtic career. But no, just after that, pretty much the only thing he'd done in a Celtic shirt. I think he scored goals in both the qualifiers that year. He definitely scored against Utrecht, but I'm sure he scored against Braga as well. He scored the 2 goals, and then he just went away in international duty and enjoyed a party, shall we say. And that was pretty much the end of his Celtic career. He went out and loaned to Spain, but never really kicked a ball for us again. But what I was surprised, and it was only a couple of years ago that it came out, that he linked up with Ronnie Dyler. I think it was at New York, and then they moved back to Belgium. But no, he's now actually managing. Efrain Juarez is now managing that team in Mexico via a stint in Colombia. So I thought the fact that he played, it was all right. He just obviously enjoyed these extracurricular activities, shall we say. But I thought he was all right as a player. Nowhere near the player that I thought we were getting. But based off what you heard about him and everything that apparently went on, and the people that attended the parties that he went to, I was very, very surprised to see him linking up with Ronnie Dyler, and obviously to become a manager in any sense. He's obviously kind of quieting down a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I've just brought up his Wikipedia there as well, because I remembered, obviously, as you said, he ended up with Ronnie Dyler, of all people, at New York FC, which he was never at Celtic during Ronnie Dyler's reign. So how their paths crossed, and as you see there, James, his kind of party antics, for lack of any depth in what he was up to, he doesn't come across as somebody who would want to cross paths with Ronnie Dyler, or rather Ronnie Dyler would want to cross paths with him. So it's quite interesting how that unfolded, and as you see, he's now at UNAM Pumas, doing he's an actual manager now, not just assistant. And assuming that he went from New York FC to Standard Liège and Club Brugge as assistant, I assume he's followed.
Brugge as well. I didn't know he went to Brugge with him as well.
I've only just seen that myself, but I assume he followed Ronnie Dyler, so he's obviously impressed Ronnie Dyler, and then he's managed to step out on his own. Really impressive. I loved when he came to Celtic. I've got this thing, if nobody can tell you yet, obviously, with Bernabe and anybody who comes from South America, I naturally assume you must be a baller and you're going to be good. So I've got high hopes for anybody who comes from Mexico or I get Central America or Argentina, Brazil, or whatever. I'll give them the benefit of a doubt until they literally become shite, and then we'll cast them aside, sort of thing. But what a really weird career he's had to end up being a manager and working with somebody like Brian Dyla is quite impressive. But it reminds me, because of his career path and nothing else, and I say this because he did actually end up through the Barcelona youth ranks at one point in his young career, but his kind of career path reminds me of Marc Rosas. Barcelona youth, played at Celtic, ended up making his career in South America, Mexico kind of football. And Marc Rosas, not a number 4 by any stretch. Obviously, he's a midfielder. I think did he have number 8 at the time? Or did Brown have that and he was number 6 maybe? But Marc Rosas, what a fucking beard he had, but he had some fucking career after Celtic. I think he ended up becoming Mexican citizen at one point, Marc Rosas, and I don't know, just him and Efren Juarez just kind of, for totally different reasons, just fit in my head at the same way somehow.
I'll pick up the mantle for Franny, who is going to make an appearance tonight. I think he was going to take a very obvious one, and so we are going to talk about number 4s from about 92 onwards, and so he was going to take Jackie McNamara. So just kind of off memory, Jackie McNamara, I remember when I was a kid and he signed for Celtic, and I remember watching it on the news channel, and it was a picture of Jackie in a Dunfermline top at the time, just saying that Celtic have signed this youngster. I think it was for a fee of under £1 million anyway, signed as a right back. And Jackie, he just never looked back whenever he joined Celtic. He dovetailed brilliantly with Simon Donnelly, and one of my kind of happiest memories of being a Celtic fan in my childhood was whenever, and where we sat at Celtic, we were so close to the front row, just like maybe 3 behind, and we saw on the right wing Simon Donnelly and Jackie McNamara, and the kind of relationship that they had on the park, and the way that they would be able to pass to each other, and one would kind of overlap the other. And I just loved those players on the right, especially under that Tommy Burns side. But Jackie McNamara, he stood the test of time. He was a brilliant right back, brilliant full back, and he was relied upon by 6 different managers: Tommy Burns, Wim Jansen, Dr. Joe, John Barnes, Martin O'Neill, and eventually Gordon Strachan. Where they obviously parted ways, and it was quite an acrimonious, sad departure. We ended up going down to Wolves, and then he broke his leg before he barely kicked the ball for Wolves. And I think pretty much his career was never the same after that. But an amazing player for Celtic. He had his own song, of course, and he was just a fan favourite. And you don't really get many fan favourites if you're a defender. You don't really get the glory, but he was just such a brilliant team player. And he had a bit of dig about him as well. The fact that he had this kind of like he looked like a boy, with his youthful features, but a lot of his teammates spoke about him being like this kind of silent assassin, where Jackie took no prisoners. He was a really, really hard tackler, and I just thought that he was a fantastic player, that he would fit into most Celtic teams no matter what kind of era. He was such a great, reliable player, and afterwards he's been great for Celtic as an ambassador, speaking well about us in the media and things like that. So I don't think many people have ever had a bad word to say about Jackie. Just, I'm not going to say a club legend, but absolutely a Celtic hero. Brilliant player, brilliant guy as well. And his father used to play for Celtic as well. His father, Jackie Senior, he played for Celtic not as long as what Jackie did. I don't know if this was maybe the 70s. I think his father was really heavily involved with politics as well. He was quite a hardline socialist, and I don't know if that kind of passed out to Jackie, but kind of political awareness. But just a great player, and obviously came from a good family. So there's that to Jackie. So, gents, I guess that probably wraps up things for that particular segment. Do you just want a quiz, or do you want to talk about other topics?
Well, if no new players to talk about, so with me as well.
Right, okay. Peter Lawwell done the dirty on McNamara when he drove down to Wolves, and he had agreed to sign on. Peter Lowell left it to the last minute to hijack the deal.
What? See, McNamara, just what year was his testimonial? 2005, 6?
What was it against Ireland?
Ireland, aye. The only reason I say that is the first. I was at Tom Boyd's testimonial, but I cannot remember it. But I can remember being at Jackie McNamara's. They get Celtic about 1-0, I'm sure, that day. But I can't. It would have been about what 2005, 2006 time. But it's the first kind of. I know obviously they're pretty rare to come by these days, but it's the first kind of testimonial I can remember being it.
Mm-hmm.
Just on Francis's point there, I'm sure the story was. I think Jackie might have said this himself. He was literally driving down the motorway when he got that call from Celtic from Peter Lowell trying to hijack that deal, which we're talking about, 2005, 2006, I guess, kind of era. Peter Lowell came in a couple of years before that, but it's very much been the exact same shit that Peter Lowell or the Celtic board would do, would be like taking for granted players would just fucking stay because it's Celtic, or pay them a low wage, or the whole John McGinn saga, or we'll offer you Hibs pittance because we know you want to sign for us. But John McGinn ends up halfway down to Aston Villa and is like, well, no, they've shown me the steam, they've honoured me, they've treated me well. John McGinn says, go fuck yourself, Celtic. Jack McNair, almost a similar situation, wasn't it? That he's halfway down the motorway to Wolves. It's like, you've kind of left it too late, Celtic, Peter, whoever you want to call it. It's a bit of a shit fucking thing that we constantly fucking do.
Yeah, I think we've always been miserly.
That away if you missed an opportunity, it's like they put in the Peter Lowell there if you let that comment pass.
Oh, fuck, man. Jeez, almost missed it, James. Almost missed it.
Before I do the quiz, before I move on to the quiz, can I just say that for the On This Day segment, so obviously today's the 25th of July, if we're going back 20 years ago, Shinsuke Nakamura signed for Celtic back in 2005. And if we go back even further than that, Henrik Larsson signed for Celtic on this day, 25th of July 1997. He actually had his unveiling today as well. So obviously two fantastic names in Celtic's modern day history. I just wanted to ask you quite briefly, as a young fan, whenever you've kind of got that proper buzz, the excitement, as a young fan, who was the first player that you were genuinely excited to see play for Celtic after they'd signed? I'd just say for myself, it was Paolo Di Canio, because whenever he signed in the mid-90s, Football Italia was just a massive thing in Channel 4. And it got so many people aware of football in Italy, and Di Canio was a sub for a brilliant Milan team. And whenever I heard the rumours, I started trying to watch to see if he'd be playing for Milan on if it was a televised Sunday game. I got his autograph whenever he signed for Celtic, and he didn't say a word. He just looked this cool Italian tan guy, and he just signed the autograph and just walked away. And I'm like, oh, that guy looks cool as fuck. And he was obviously a fantastic player for Celtic. But that was the first guy that I really had that buzz, that excitement for. James, I'm sure you could probably remember something.
Well, the earliest one for me was Craig Burley. I think I've told the story on here before. My cousin used to play for Bolton, and we played Bolton in a testimonial at the Reebok, and me and my family had went down, and after it, we were outside, and you can't see it, but basically that picture just on my shoulder, that's me and my dad with Henrik Larsson, and it would have been...
One.
Aye, that one there. Yeah. 97, 98 probably would have been. So it would have either been Henrik Larsson of Chick Charnley. Fucking hell, I can't speak tonight. Henrik Larsson of Chick Charnley fame, or it would have been the summer after. I can't remember, to be honest. Obviously, I was a wee guy, but no, I was Craig Burley daft in that picture. Literally, I can remember it, because all the Celtic players were working in a line, and Craig Burley was next in line. I was buzzing. It was Craig Burley. So we went, oh, Craig, can we get a picture? So I'm what, 5 or something, so I'm up on my dad's shoulders, and I'll never forget it. It was all wind on camera, and Henrik Larsson that bastard took up the last picture on the spool, so I didn't get my picture with Craig Burley. But I suppose Henrik Larsson isn't a bad substitute, to be fair. But no, at the time I was gutted. I always remember that coming up and absolutely gutted. We didn't get a picture with Craig Burley.
McGinty?
I don't know is the short answer, so I'm going to change it and manipulate it a little bit. Obviously, you're talking Di Canio, Andy Tom was a favourite of mine back then, rather than the three amigos. You're looking at Van Hooijdonk. Even Larsson himself came with maybe not fanfare, but he was a known name to some degree. But I think maybe the last two names that I truly got excited for, thinking these guys are coming with a reputation. They're coming with we're signing that made me feel like we're going to get a fucking player here. Also, we've had better players since these two. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. You look at Matt O'Reilly, he's been a fantastic player for us. You look at, Edward and Dembele, they've been so much better than the striker that I'm going to name. But two guys, one was Massimo Donati, sorry. The fact that he was a 10 million Milan player back in 2006, was it? 2008?
Yeah,
it kind of made me feel like, on paper you're like, right, an Italian Milan defensive midfielder, £10 million, you're getting a fucking player here. But the other one that I actually got really excited about, and I think he actually did really well for Celtic, was Jan Vennegoor of Hesselink. And when we signed him, and I don't know if it's because I was, at the time probably mid to late teens and high on Football Manager lifestyle, but he was one of those players that we signed that I thought straight away I knew he was a quality striker who's going to come in and do a fucking job for Celtic, and we signed a proper striker ready-made to do the job. And I think he did do the job. I mean, we remember his goal against Dundee United to win us the league. I think that, I can't remember the year. I was going to say 2006, but I think that's a wee bit too early. But Jan Vennegoor was a quality striker, a quality player for us. Maybe didn't have the legacy and the kind of the limelight that some players had. Maybe even Scott McDonald's got a bit more of a kind of fan favourite overall from it. But Jan Vennegoor was one of the last players that, as you say, we the kind of signed to get you excited, that I truly felt like we signed somebody ready, good to go, pedigree around him, played in a good European league in Holland and stuff, and you knew he was coming in to fill a void that was needed and was going to do a job. Whereas since then, yes, we've had definitely better strikers since, but a lot of the strikers since have been projects or punts or people that you just didn't know about, such as Kyogo.
Mm-hmm. I think, in terms of modern day history, Celtic target men. See, if you take away Chris Sutton, John Hartson, and Pierre Van Hooijdonk, I think coming up behind them, Jan Vennegoor of Hesselink, not as good as them, but he's next in line in terms of quality. Is like a big target man. As you said, he had pedigree, played in the Champions League for PSV, and I think PSV actually got to the semi-final of the Champions League in the year before we signed Jan Vennegoor. I don't know if Jan Vennegoor was the favoured striker at that point. It might have been playing second fiddle to someone, but he played in a good team, and I know that some people hear the cliche. I think I heard it in one of the comments earlier on. He could play well. He had good feet for a big man, Guys, we are going to move on to a quiz. Now, some of these quizzes will be like quickest first, okay? But some of them will be how many can you name. So for those examples, I'll give you the heads up. But if it's like multiple answers for one, so basically whoever backs himself to name, if you say you're going to name 4 and you can say 4 correctly, then you've got it. If McGinty says no, I can say 5, and you get it wrong, then that sort of thing. So we will start off with, can you name the 3 goal scorers for Celtic against Ajax in Amsterdam in the 2001 UEFA Champions League qualifier? There was 3 goal scorers. Who can confidently name all 3? If you think you can, say yes, you can.
I can name one.
Okay. James, can you top one?
I'll go 2. Chris Sutton.
Yeah.
Please turn off comments.
And it was Bobby Petter's game, wasn't it? And I'm sure he scored. So Chris Sutton and Bobby Petter.
That's correct. You've also got Didier Agat as well.
Yeah. I'm now turning off comments because it's just so strange love. But that one for Agat was the potential second, but I didn't want to call it. Other than that, I would not have got Bobby Petter, so well done, James.
There's no bonus points here, but does anyone remember the team, the player who scored for Ajax against us in that game?
Was it some sibling of Davy Kleisen?
No.
Or Davy Blind, or some
play for
variation?
Rangers. He went on to play for Rangers.
Mr. Bean.
Aye. Shota Arveladze. Okay, so yeah. James takes the point for that one. Okay. Question number 2. Be interesting to see if any of you get this one. How many teams can you name, and please keep comments off, how many teams can you name that Celtic faced in the 1967 European Cup run? You've got a maximum of 5.
Oh my God, my mind's went blank after 2.
So just to repeat,
I'm on 2 going on 3, but I can't confidently name the fucking actual club.
How many teams?
I feel obviously the obvious thing too.
Yeah, I'll go 3 then. That's embarrassing.
I'll let you. It is, and I'm the same because I know as soon as I hear the other 2, I'm gonna fucking see it.
You see on the Super Scoreboard, whenever the caller phones in and they try and beat the pundit, the question was who did Celtic play in the semi-final, and neither of them could get it. So James, you think you can do 3? McGinty, you don't think you can best that?
No, I can do 2. I could try 3, but I think James is probably better than me.
Okay, James, if you can name 3, then you take the point. If not, then I'm going to give McGinty the point.
Right, so are we including the final? Right, so Inter Milan.
Yeah.
Dukla Prague.
Yeah.
That was it. That was my third.
Sorry, it's come back to me. I thought I was getting in my season book there. Zurich.
Yes.
Nantes. Vojvodina.
Oh!
Well done, James. Well done.
I thought I was getting in my season book there. My mind went totally blank. I even had a question mark beside Nantes because I wrote it down. But as soon as I was going through it, it's all come back to me. Thank God for that.
Well done, mate. Well done. I think the ones that you kind of remember, Vojvodina, just because it's like an obscure name, and Dukla Prague as well. Zurich and Nantes are kind of easy to forget. So well done. 2-0 up to James. Question 3. Fastest first. McGinty, stop chewing the peanuts. Which team did Celtic sign Tosh McKinley from?
Motherwell. No.
James.
I was going to say Motherwell as well.
No, that's it's not even who he signed from. That's Phil Donald. We're thinking about who he went to. Airdrie?
James, don't be looking at the comments.
No, generally, I've still got my comment that needs reply to in the private chat. It was a team in Scotland that St Mirren. Wasn't it St Mirren? It was a team in Scotland.
Look, you're making a pig's arse of this. We'll just move on. It was Hearts.
Farts, aye. Yeah. I knew that.
Okay, question 4. Fastest first. Which team did Billy McNeill manage prior to his first appointment as Celtic manager?
Dunfermline.
That was keep my season book back again.
Which team did Billy McNeil manage prior to his first appointment as Celtic manager?
Aberdeen.
Yes, Aberdeen.
I did say Laneckley at first, thinking of Jockstein.
Yeah. Okay, James is 3-0 up. Next question. This is how many can you name? How many teams can you name that John Hartson played for? Now, by the way, this guy was a football slut. He played for everyone. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've got a maximum of 8 to get for the teams that John Hartson played for.
Three.
I've got 5 off the top of my head. I'll say 4.
I don't think I was going to say 4 myself, but I don't think I can beat it.
Right, I'll say 5 then. I'll take a gamble because I've got one that I'm not 100% sure on because I might be getting them mixed up with somebody else, but I think it's who he went to after us. So, Celtic.
Yep.
Coventry.
Yep.
Arsenal.
Yep.
West Ham.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
The last one's the one I think it's who he went to after Celtic. West Brom.
Well done, mate. Well done. James is doing well in this one. Next question. Fastest first. How many league titles has James Forrest won?
14.
You know what? I'd written down the answer. And I'm doubting myself because I think I've had a mind fart and I've written down the wrong answer. I think you might be right, McGinty. How many titles has James?
Because he's 16 seasons. They've won 1 and 12. I don't want to give any more clues in case James jumps in, but I think it's 14.
I don't think it is.
It's got to be one either side, so 13. 15. 13.
If it's 13, give me a date, because I would have said 13 off McGinty.
13. It's 13. Sorry.
I'll take it. 14 was a good guess.
Yeah, because he started at the start of 9 in a row. So he got 9 right off the bat. Brilliant start to your career. And then
another 4.
Obviously, 1 year he missed out. And then we've won 4 again in the bounce. So that's 13 in total. Sorry. Does anybody take a point for that? I kind of blanked out there.
I'll take it for the consolation prize.
Right, we'll keep things interesting. Next question. Right, fastest first. In season 2000-2001, Martin O'Neill's first campaign in charge ended in a treble for Celtic after a 3-0 victory in the Scottish Cup final. Now, Larsson scored a second half double, but who opened the scoring for Celtic?
Simon Donnelly.
That's too late for Simon Donnelly, is it not?
Was it? Yeah, that was a random name. 2001, so 2001. Wasn't front, something seems.
Gotta go a wee. I don't really know, to be honest. So I'll go for a wee out there one. Tommy Johnson.
No, too late as well.
No.
It was Jackie McNamara.
Oh, really? Number 4?
Yeah. Yeah. They were wearing the gold top, I think, in that game.
NTL one, yeah.
Yeah, and he kind of managed to get into the box. He had the keeper to beat, and I think he kind of scuffed it almost, and it went into the far corner. Next question. So this is, can you name them all? Can you name the 4 Celtic players to score 100 goals this century?
As in all 100 goals are scored in this century, or they hit 100 within the century? Like, they could have scored in the 90s.
In this century.
All goals in the century. Three, maybe four. Yeah, 3.
Come on, again, you back yourself. Come on.
Larson
Yep.
scored 100 in the century, obviously. I think Hartson hit 100.
Yeah.
Which makes me want to say Sutton might have, but that's my doubt. And then is it Griffiths or Commons?
You tell me.
Griffiths.
Okay, so you've got Larson, Griffiths, Hartson, and Sutton. Was that correct?
That's my guess, yeah.
Okay.
Is there
I
another
think
one?
Sutton. I think Sutton didn't hit 100.
Yeah,
That's my doubt.
yeah. The
So
player
how many's left?
there's one player left. Sutton is not the man.
James Forrest.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck aye. Literally, we had a whole season about it.
Yeah.
See, to be fair, I wrote down Scott McDonald. Scott McDonald must have got close, no?
Probably close, but not close enough.
Yeah.
Next question. First answer wins. In the Celtic Christmas advert, titled First Class Post Ecoglu, what was goalkeeper Joe Hart given for Christmas?
Shampoo.
Yeah.
Hairdryer.
No, head and shoulders shampoo. Aye. Right.
You seen him
scores are-
recently? Looking shoulders and shoulders they must be using these days.
Yeah.
Gotta be a Turkey effort. Gotta be.
Oh, he's totally bald, isn't he?
Mhm.
Aye, but he has to be doing that for a wee Turkey fucking hair plug effort.
I don't know. I think he might just grow gracefully. Who knows? Next question. First answer wins. Which defender who played in the 1974 World Cup final went on to manage Celtic?
No.
McGrane?
Who?
That World
Green?
Cup final that Scotland got to.
Aye.
The final, not the finals. The final.
Oh, fucking Betty Volts.
Wim Jansen.
No, Betty Volts, that's fucking Scotland. Wim Jansen, yes. Fucking.
James takes it, man. James takes it. Aye.
Danny McGrain, famous Celtic manager and famous Scotland World Cup finalist.
Yes, that guy.
Aye. We've got Wim Jansen for Francis Totten. Next question. What fastest first? Which team defeated Celtic in Brendan Rodgers' first competitive game as manager?
Lincoln Red Imps.
Well done.
Next question. Who scored the only goal when Celtic defeated Barcelona 1-0 in March 2004 UEFA Cup game?
Alan Thompson.
Yeah. Right. McGinny, keep your spirits up, okay?
I was going to go for 2012. Tony Watt. That's
Danny McGrain's a belter. That's the highlight so far for me anyway.
We got Francis Totten and Smother Glove. Right, next question. Who were Celtic's opponents in the Scottish Cup final in 1988?
Dundee United.
Airdrie.
James wins it again, man.
How do you even know that, James?
Centenary season.
Fuck off.
Frank McAvenny. Yeah. Right. Next question. Who is the club's all-time record appearance holder in European competition?
Scott Brown.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. Who's the first Celtic manager to have the shortest? Who's the Celtic manager to have the shortest stint as boss?
John Barnes.
Caretaker official.
Yeah, official.
Yeah.
Okay. True or false? True or false? Willie Maley managed Celtic longer than the combined tenures of Jimmy McStay, Jimmy McGrory, Jock Stein, Billy McNeil first stint,
True.
and Davy Hay.
True.
It's actually false.
Fuck off. He was there for like fucking 40 years.
43 years, I think. 43 years or 42 years, depending if you want to include 87. But yeah. No.
Impressive.
Yeah. He was there for a long period anyway. So, don't know. I'm not going to give James a point for that. You just got it wrong. I'm going to be more kind on now. Right, okay. How many continents has the world produced Celtic managers? How many continents in the world have produced Celtic managers?
2. Yeah, 2.
I would have said 2 as well. Europe and Oceania.
Portugal in Europe.
With John Barnes.
Come on, fuck. The most English Jamaican man you've ever fucking met in your life.
That's a fucking...
fair enough, 3.
No. McGinty, we're right. Fuck this guy too.
His birthplace is definitely Jamaica. Next question. Who was Tommy Burns' first signing?
Don't know.
McGinn, come on, you can get this. You can do it.
I had Willie Faulkner in my head, but I think he's earlier. And then I'm thinking Andy Tom, but that's just because I've got a hard on for Andy Tom.
It's Andy Tom.
Is it Andy Tom? Fucking A.
Yeah. Right,
give me the point. I'm still about 8-9, but give me the point.
You've got a point. Okay. Right, this is the second last question. Who scored, I never knew this, okay. Who scored the fastest domestic hat-trick for Celtic?
Maloney. Not Maloney. Fucking hell.
I thought we were going to dive in. QI buzzers going with Mark Burchill.
Fucking Burchill, the other prodigal son.
No, that was Europe though, wasn't it? Unizesh.
Yeah.
Fastest domestic hat-trick.
What did Maloney have then? Did he not have one of these weird records?
I don't know.
Is he a recent player? Like the last 10 years, 20 years?
No. But he's not an old player. You wouldn't say he's an old player. Our lifetime, definitely. An absolute baller.
Ayo Bekovic. I'm joking.
James, one more go.
I generally stab in the dark. I'll go for the Van Hooijdonk.
Close, but not close enough. This man scored 3 goals in 4 minutes against Kilmarnock in 1999.
No.
Mark Viduka.
That prick.
I saw it.
See, I was close with Bekovic. Arsehole.
I saw it whenever you're trolling through like historic Celtic trivia questions, and I saw it. I'm like, no, I need to verify that myself. And I had to Google it. I'm like, oh my god, he actually scored 3 in 4 minutes. You should YouTube it. I'm sure the highlights are there. Right. Final question. Who scored the most goals in a campaign for Celtic out of 3 candidates? Henrik Larsson, Lee Griffiths, or Jimmy McGrory?
Oh,
McGrory. I mean, the obvious one is Larsson, but I think that's the trick, so it's McGrory.
I would have said McGrory was obvious.
62 goals. 62 goals in the 1927-28 season.
53 for Larsson, was it?
Probably.
When he got the golden boot.
Was it 35 in the league? And that was what won him it. The golden.
35 in the league, but it's like, I didn't mean to.
Right. Okay. So we've got fun there, James. I think you got 11. think I stopped counting at that point.
I got 10. That's what
You
we'll
got
go
4. You got 4. McGinty, a very respectable 4.
with.
Right, okay, so just a couple of brief things, and I guess we can wrap up. We've been on here for 2 hours and 15 minutes. By the way, to everybody in the comments, thank you so much for staying with us. We have got the agree to disagree, and it's only 3 simple points. This was a segment which was introduced by our dear friend Ross, and I've just got 3 simple ones, nothing really to kind of set the head on fire, but they're fairly kind of obvious, and probably symptomatic of where we are right now. So wonder if McGinty's off for a pee or to get more salt and vinegar peanuts. James, start with yourself. And this question was actually thrown in a few days ago into our group chat by Anthony, and it was strongly agree, disagree, or strongly disagree. Would you take Ange back if Brendan was to leave at the end of this season?
Yes, I'd take Ange back the Inamura. With open fucking legs.
What about everybody in the comments? Would you strongly agree with that? Would you take Ange back if Brendan was to leave at the end of this season? McGinty, I'm sure you've caught up with the question. That's the agree, strongly agree, disagree, strongly disagree. Would you take Ange back at the end of it?
And a very, very short answer, yes, I would. At the end of Rodgers' tenure, yes, I would. Yes, take Ange back. P. McLaughlin has flagged up that apparently Tom signed in 1995 and we had the Hampden season before Tom signed. Now, I typed into Google who was Tommy Burns' first signing as Celtic manager, and up came Andreas Tom. So, apologies if I'm wrong. Maybe Google was wrong and I'm right. Who knows? Right, okay. Smell the Glove says agree every day. No, sorry, that was apparently Phil O'Donnell.
Yeah.
Sorry, Google AI says Phil O'Donnell in July 1994.
I hold my hands up. McGinty, do you want me to take a point off you for that then?
No, because I like Andy Tom, and I also think Willie Falconer, who probably signed in 1982, probably is still a good shout, so I'll take the point.
Give him 10 points for the Danny McGrain shout. He's fucking winning a lot for
that. P. McLaughlin, I'd take Ange back with Brown as number 2, and Francis, I think he's found his level, but would need to improve in Europe. Okay, next question. Appointing a director to oversee transfers is paramount.
Agree, but also paramount for a lot more than just transfers.
I don't know, because I think a lot is maybe down to my no understanding the role, because is that kind of what Paul Tisdale is for us, like unnamed? I know he's not in as the director of football. So I suppose in that sense I'd disagree with that. I don't think a director of football is massively important for us.
Okay. One thing that
I disagree with James.
You're allowed to.
Just for the sake of disagreeing with James. And I don't often do that, but I want to firmly disagree with James. I just think if you've got is a massive thing for us that we should.
I just think if you've got a good scouting setup, then that really should be the director of football's job. Not exactly, but just generally speaking, I think if you've got a good kind of setup in your scouts, then that should basically be the director of football's job.
So this is where, unfortunately for Gavin, this is going to take a fucking tangent and I'm against your rant. For me, the director of football is so much bigger than just transfers and just that. The director of football, if we take the board at the high level, you've got a financial director, you've got a marketing director, you've got a commercial director. You should have a football director, aka director of football, sports director, what the fuck you want to call it. Now, when it comes to financial and commercial or PR or whatever fucking shit it is, somebody else does that shit. But the director of football for me should be like the focal point of the board that all football operations happen under. So when we talk about today, the season of Brendan Rodgers' last of these 3 seasons, more than likely, and we're discussing, is the board being a bunch of dicks by not backing Rodgers because they know he's going to leave? That shouldn't be a conversation, because the director of football should be overseeing so much of the football infrastructure, from recruitment and scouting to the B squad, the youth level, the first team level, to all the coaches. He should be overseeing it all, the philosophy. And one of the best teams to do this is probably Bayern Munich, actually. That regardless of who the manager is, any players that the club sign should be perfect, or within realms of perfect for the club. So that even if we sign 10 players just now, they shouldn't be projects hitting hopes for maybe next year, maybe the year after. They should be players that are ready to go now, because even if Rodgers leaves, the next manager we hire should be done by the director of football in line with the football structure and the football philosophy that the club should be doing. That the new manager should be probably accepted and quite happy with the staff, the players that have been signed previously, because he should fit the overall philosophy of the club and the squad. It shouldn't be that the next manager has a whole wildly different approach to football and we then need to sign 12 other players because we've changed direction, because we've picked a different manager. The director of football should oversee all of it. That the next manager he picks, not Peter Lawwell or Nicholson or whoever, it should be in line with everything. The director of football should oversee so much of the football infrastructure that it should be fluid. And Bayern Munich do that so well that regardless of the manager, the coaches can remain the same, the players can remain the same, because the manager comes in and fits the ethos of the club, not the club bows to the random new ethos of whatever manager comes in and changes its direction. The manager comes in to fit the club, not the other way around.
I think an ideal world scenario, that sounds perfect, but if I'm being honest, I think a director of football at Celtic just becomes somebody else to shout at, because we've done it with Lowell, Nicholson, Mackay, Tisdale's even getting it in the neck these days. Ross Desmond, fucking Thingley's boy, Lowell's boy. What was Lowell's boy called again? Mark Lowell. He got it in the neck. So personally, I think it would just be somebody else to shout at. I think what you're saying in an ideal world scenario, but for it to operate like that at Celtic, I think there's so much higher up above that director of football position that would need to change for it to operate like that.
Exactly that, because we could hire somebody and give them that title, Sean Maloney, let's pretend, Mark Lawwell, whoever. We could give them that title, but if the whole infrastructure above doesn't allow him, whoever that guy is, or woman, to implement the directive of how football operates at the club, then it's fucking pointless if they just end up being a puppet or a fucking nepotism fucking hiring of whoever, Gordon Strachan, Mark Lowell, Ross Desmond, whoever fuck it comes in. It has to be, I mean, I would love us to go out and, we couldn't afford him. We clearly could not afford him, and it's clearly pie in the sky. But your man, Ralph Ragnick, hire him as a director of football, and he would fucking fix the whole fucking shebang. Because you wouldn't give a fuck about everything else.
See, my kind of basic understanding of it would have been like a director of football, someone who comes in and has got authority of his own, and the manager and him have to work together, which brings its own complications, because you're adding another ego to the melting pot there, and it might put some people's noses out of joint. But I think that should be the structure, and it would mean that people like Peter Lawwell and Michael Nicholson no longer are in the firing line, that we hold them responsible. So whenever I think of Arsenal, whenever they did that Amazon documentary, you had obviously the manager Arteta, and he worked really well with the director of football, who was Edu. And Edu, by all accounts, had quite a good reputation for what he did, and they worked well together to find targets. And it's just the situation that we find ourselves in whenever we're doing Brendan signings, like taking out the phone book, and then you've got club signings, which are just like, just hit and miss, very, very high in volume as well, causing a range of problems in itself. And then you may have like people that Lawwell might want to bring in, there's just too many people. But if you were to maybe restructure and get a director of football, then things might become more transparent. And if you've got a head of a director of football, and as you said, McGinty, whenever that manager leaves, then that director of football says, look, we've performed really well under this style of play. Let's try to continue on in that vein, and let's seek out managers who fit that profile, rather than going from, a Ronnie Dyler to a Neil Lennon, which is kind of like total polar opposites of managers in terms of like styles of play. So to try to kind of keep a continuity, and Bayern Munich is a good example of that. Where if the manager isn't fitting, then they'll just get rid of him and bring in someone that they think will fit that style of play. But yeah, it's a complicated thing, and maybe Celtic aren't tailored for that, because at the moment, people like Michael Nicholson and Lawwell have got too strong a monopoly on the running of the football club, and they might not want to do that.
The great thing of how Bayern Munich do it is, and we've seen the problem with this as recent as Brendan Rodgers' first stint, and this is probably at one of the times that it became so highlighted that Celtic should implement this thing, is Rodgers leaves Celtic the first time, and he took, Cole Touré was a coach at one point. He took
the furniture.
What's his name? He took it all out. Davis, thank you, James. He took it all out, and we were left fucking squandering. And that's when Lennon comes in and he's picking fucking John Kennedy, and Gavin Strachan becomes in. Nepotism at its best sometimes. But the way Bayern Munich do it so well, and it's not just Bayern Munich, Ajax do it, Porto do it, Benfica do it, they all do it, and it does allow the big structure, if you do it properly and implement it with the right amount of coaches across the board, it does allow for a little bit of nepotism. It does allow for Johnny Heitinger to be the Ajax coach and then manager. It does allow perhaps for Scott Brown to be a Celtic coach or manager eventually, because there's such a structure and it's so well organised that in a point in time, say Brendan Rodgers was to leave, the entire coaching structure doesn't fucking fall apart. It remains and it's consistent. So the next manager comes in can be a project, i.e. Scott Brown, i.e. Neil Lennon, i.e. Vincent Kompany at Bayern Munich, because he's not left stranded on his own, bringing in his own people. He's coming into an infrastructure that's already developed and successful, that pretty much, it's kind of like when you've got a brilliant starting 11 and you want to bring in a new striker. You're not bringing a new striker thinking, oh fuck, I need to sign 10 other players to fit this striker. No, you're signing a striker to fit the fucking team that's already there. Same with a manager, you're signing a manager to fit the coaching staff that's already there. He's going to work with them because that's what he's hired for. You're not hiring him and building everything around him. You're hiring him because he works for you, for the club, how it operates.
Okay, final, agree to disagree, and then I guess we can look to wrap up the podcast. So the final question is, the domestic challenge this coming season will be the toughest that Brendan Rodgers has faced as Celtic manager.
I would agree.
Agree.
And people in the comments,
in his first stint, without any disrespect, you can't go invincible without being really fucking great. But you're talking 2016, 2017, the Rangers then wasn't as strong as they are now, let alone the potential of what they're doing with the whole new manager takeover. I think this is potentially the strongest domestic opponents that he's going to face.
I would agree. I think this season, but see, the thing is, where I've turned it back to a bold bashing session, it's not even because I know they've signed, they're basically a fucking EFL select at this point, but it's not because of their signings, it's because of again what we've done on our side or what we've not done on our side, which is so hopefully that kind of fixes itself. But the only other time obviously turned out to be wrong when I felt like this was the Postecoglou's first season, because I know we'll all deny it now, but at the time the majority of their support weren't really in favour of Postecoglou, and we all thought he'd fail and be out the door and it'd be a disaster. And to be fair, he didn't get after the best of starts, but obviously turned it round. So I would agree, probably between the two or this season and that season.
Excellent. Right, okay. Final thing to kind of wrap it up for tonight. We're playing obviously tomorrow, Saturday, 7:30 in the evening against Al Ali. Not the same Al Ali that we played at that Emirates Cup that James went to. That was an Egyptian team. This team
that was actually the Wembley Cup. we won the Wembley Cup.
Was that the most successful football club in the world at the Wembley Cup?
It was.
But we're playing against the Saudi Mob tomorrow. I guess this is the last friendly that we've got before we play next Sunday. Woodsy in the comments did say that he wouldn't be surprised if Celtic arrange a closed doors game midweek, just to give us a little bit of sharpness. Wouldn't be a bad idea. However, for tomorrow, the excitement is kind of fizzled out a little bit of pre-season, unfortunately. But it's another game to get the fitness up and maybe to try to, I don't know, bring back some positivity. I guess. What's your expectations for tomorrow? And do you want to see like people like Cameron Carter-Vickers get another run out? Just because we want to get him strong as possible.
I think tomorrow we see Carter-Vickers start. I think you might see Alistair Johnston start. We have to be surely looking for Johnston to start the season. And as James said earlier, it was 2 or 3 weeks that he's been since Canada's left the Gold Cup, so that he's had a bit of time, not much, but a bit of time off. So maybe that's enough. He comes across as a professional. He comes across as somebody the complete opposite of what I was saying about Adam Ida earlier. He looks like the kind of guy who will be keeping his fitness sharp. He will be looking after himself, and I think he will be somewhat ready. He won't be perfect, but in no disrespect, but it is only St. Mirren come next week. So I think Johnson probably starts tomorrow. Doesn't see the 90 minutes, but I think he probably starts with a look to the weekend ahead.
Aye.
And go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think the team that starts the Mora is the team that starts next week. I think
more
that's
than likely, yeah. I think the big discussion is still going to be the striker up front. That's your biggest thing. Defensively, I think we're going to look, as James said earlier, Carter-Vickers and Trusty is probably going to be your pairing. I don't think anybody's going to complain about that. You expect Carter-Vickers to come in. You expect probably Trusty to be the one who starts it as well. Is it strong? Probably not. We do need another centre-back. But I think the big 2 points is Alistair Johnson at right back, and then who's the manager going to pick up front? Is it Kenny or is it Ida?
And that pretty much wraps up for tonight. There was a topic which I had planned to speak about, but I'm actually going to restrict it to just a yes or no answer from both of you.
Not possible.
Has Brendan Rodgers already made his mind up about where his future lies next season? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and there we have it.
Do you want us to elaborate?
If you want, like, 2.5 hours, man. Like, you know that I've got no qualms until the sun rises. It's up to you guys.
Yes, he has, and yes, it is not at Celtic. I think too much has happened at Celtic over his 2 stints, especially with transfers. I think he's going to be an honourable man and see out his 3 years, and he's going to move on, and that's it, done.
Aye, I would agree with that. I think he's made his mind up in the sense that it's probably not going to be at Celtic, but he doesn't know obviously where it's going to be. I think there's too many familiarity. I generally can't speak tonight. Too much stuff similar to when he left last time round. In terms of, as I said the last time, the comments around in Shved. I know the comments with Inamura weren't as kind of damning as the Shved, but they are in a similar vein. And obviously just how the transfer window seems to be playing out, and the fact that he's having to dig out the board again. So if he sees out his 3 years, I think he'll be away at the end of the season.
I think just looking at the comments, I know Gavin, you're bringing them up as well. I'm surprised he's not been in Spain yet. It's been a known secret as such that he's very fluent in Spanish. He loves that culture. He loves that language. I'm surprised he's not ended up there before now. He's not old. He's still reasonably young. He's in his 50s, but he's not 60 yet, sort of thing. So he still has probably 5, 10, 15 years in him if he wants it. I wouldn't be surprised that if his next move might be in Spain. You know, Mallorca's probably a good shout. Las Palmas. I mean, nobody's going to tell you that he's about to walk into the Barcelona, Real Madrid or Atletico Madrid job, but he could walk into Valencia, Villarreal, Real Betis, Mallorca, Las Palmas, and probably do a decent job and enjoy his life. I mean, he's got property there. He knows the area quite well. I think he'll do very well to move on there, and that's one of many reasons, as James says as well, with the whole fucking how things are panning out. His first stint is now very similar now. I don't imagine him staying on. I generally don't see him staying on.
Yeah. I would agree. I think I think he's going to be going. And I think whenever he came back, it was a kind of a reputation job that he was coming back for. Obviously, from a professional perspective, do as well as you can. But I think that he can come back to Glasgow and hold his head up high. I think that was a massive motivation, and to kind of right some wrongs from the last time. And the other thing is that I think it's wise for people to have a certain shelf life as a manager in Glasgow. When was the last time that we saw a manager outstay that 3-year period and continue to be successful? I think sometimes you need to freshen it up. Even if you're as good a manager as him or as Strachan or as Martin O'Neill, sometimes you do need to freshen things up. Things do get stale. Because you don't really get Sir Alex Ferguson's anymore in football life, you know. But anyway, guys, I've thoroughly enjoyed tonight. We're almost at 2 hours and 40 minutes, and I'm so impressed with the people and the viewers have in the comments have managed to stay with us for the length of this. So thank you again. We've got through a lot of material tonight. So obviously tomorrow we play against the Arabs, and then next Sunday we've got the unfurling of the flag. We'll be kicking off on a Sunday whenever the teams have already started playing in the domestic campaign, which is shambolic, but it is what it is. And I just kind of want to finish up tonight with rest in peace for John Farland, who passed away. Normally we'd mention that at the start of the episode. And it's actually really sad, because we were doing a podcast 3 weeks ago and we were only talking about the passing of John Clark. And now we're talking about the 12th man, the original holy goalie, John Farland, who was a Celtic man through and through. And
talking of which, do you remember, Gavin, when we went to the B squad game? We met him.
I think it was Postacoglu's first season, and me and McGinn and Paddy we travelled to Airdrie to watch the Celtic B team play against someone, and he was there. And he was there in his kind of his club colours, you know. He had the Lisbon Lion laser, and I think he wore that with pride. He represented Celtic in so many different aspects of his life, and we had the pleasure of seeing him. But by all accounts, he's a fantastic guy, and rest in peace to him. But guys, it's been an absolute blast. Thank you again to the people in the comments. We'll be back next Friday, and hopefully looking forward to the domestic campaign. So again, thanks very much. Over and out. We're going to end it there. So good night. God bless. See you next week.